Do do do, theme song. Do do do, I'm broke so this is my theme song. Do do do, just imagine this is an awesome theme song. Do do, theme song. Left of the box. Hello, welcome to Left of the Box. Bonjour, bienvenue. I'm Sandy. Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to this. It is Sunday. Yeah, Sunday afternoon, evening. An hour earlier than normal. Like, not just because I'm streaming like a half hour earlier than what I would normally stream, but you know, daylight savings and all. Welcome. It's been a while. It's been a week. It's been a week. Yeah, well, so far in the sandbox, we have 56 Nick Rich, Jet, Zeke the Beast, and Hermit Horologist. Welcome. Really appreciate all of you coming out, because there's going to be some big news dropping at some point this evening. The new leader of the Liberal Party will be announced, and Justin Trudeau will no longer be Prime Minister of this country. And most of the content that I have for you guys tonight is Justin Trudeau, so there's that. But very soon, we won't have to talk about him much anymore. Anyway, if people could give me the thumbs up in the sandbox to let me know everything is okay, audio and visual-wise. I've decided to experiment a little bit with my set. You see this? No, this finger up here. Okay. Now, I decided to do that because I printed off my new logo. This. And I put it where the old logo was. And I just kind of realized you can't really see it that well. So I have this, or I realized that I also have like a full logo. Let's see, where is it? There. And I thought, well, maybe I could do that. But when I'm looking at that, like, you can't really see the print either. It doesn't really come up clearly. So I figure I'll just go with the small logo. So let me know what you guys think about that. Leave some more room over here for if I want to pop something up on screen, or eventually I just want to get a picture that I drew and put it here on the wall. So I have a little bit more dynamic background. And then that way I don't have to worry about the cats trying to take the push pins out of the wall with that. But I figured it'd be easier to see like that. Yeah, okay. I've also decided to experiment with some other things to make them easier to see. So I've done this for when I sign off to make them a little bit easier to read. So hopefully that looks okay too. I've been doing a lot of work. Well, I haven't been online. I've been doing a fair bit of work. Just trying to update my logos and things of that sort. Work on some things because I'm still trying to decompress from the election here in Ontario, which was horrible. Yeah. I'm going to be doing just a recap video of it. I'm not going to be including it in this live stream. So I want just tomorrow, that's my project, is to work on the script for a recap video because pretty much I'm mad at everyone. And I want to make sure that I'm saying things correctly. Because, you know, when you voter shame, you really want to make sure you're doing the shaming part accurately, that you're not just blanket shaming, but you're shaming appropriately for the different people for the different reasons as to why they didn't vote. Yeah. But yeah, so I have a lot to go through. But also, been working on that book of mine. This one. Where was it? This one? Yeah, see this book here. You see, I've been working on it because I want to get it in paperback. And so I finally started the process of getting it into paperback. And let's see if I do this right. No, over this way. So, I got the proof. And I realized that the cover was a bit too dark. So I was going to get another proof to see if that was okay. But I thought, you know what? Why don't I read through this to see if there's any mistakes? So I caught a few mistakes. Just a few. Just a few. I had to read through the whole book to find, a whole bunch of mistakes. Because there's just something about seeing it in print that I'm like, yep, just, yeah. So the paperback is not ready yet. I have the second proof on its way. But yeah, just caught a few things, just a few, as I was reading through it. And so that's how I was unwinding, actually, was just reading my own book again. But I really like reading my own book, so I don't know what that says about an ego there. So yeah. So there's this band here because this is a proof. So it's like, this is not for resale value. So type thing. So the band on it won't be there, but this printed like way, way, way too dark. You can't see any of the background or anything. So hopefully I lightened it. So hopefully that works. And then all the mistakes in there I corrected. So yeah, this will be ready very soon. But tell you what, if I make $100 in this live stream, I'll read part of one of my favorite chapters in it. Just part of it. You'll get introduced to Brody, the person that was asking everyone how to spell his name. And I'll save that for the end because I don't have a ton of stuff to go over, because as I was sorting all the things that I've kind of selected for my new stream, I realized that a lot of that has to do with the provincial election. And like I said, I'm going to be doing a video for it. I'm not going to be doing a live stream for it. I want to do a video where I write down my thoughts, make sure that I have everything said that I want to be said, because there was a whole bunch that went on into that I don't think a lot of other people covered. I guess there were aspects missing in a lot of the other people's recaps of it. Let's put it that way. Possibly because they don't live with disabilities. I'm just saying. When you live with disabilities in this province, you see things a little bit differently. So I want to make sure that I have all my thoughts sounded out properly. And then once I get that done, then it's back to that TYT video. Because, oh boy, has Jink and Anna ever been adding more to it. I just want that video to be over so I no longer have to pay attention to anything they say. Wow. But over the past week, I did have somebody on for an interview, Tim from the New Evangelicals. Go check that out. If you go to my YouTube page, you can find that under the live streams, because I wanted to talk about Christian nationalism. But it was a morning stream, so I was not together. I was out of it because I'm not a morning person, because I'm usually up till like 3 a.m., so I sleep through the morning. And I thought it was a really interesting conversation, but I felt unprepared for it because I knew I really wanted to talk to him, but I didn't really feel I had a solid foundation to talk, Just, I didn't have, I felt like I didn't do a very good job as my part as the interviewer in that. Because it's just one of those things, like, I know I want to talk about this subject, but I don't know exactly what. And then it was super embarrassing because he thought that we were starting 15 minutes earlier than what we were actually starting, so I wasn't paying attention to if anybody was backstage. And so he saw me like singing along with songs and things of that sort because I had no clue he was there, because I get no notification when somebody goes into the studio. And so he saw me like, oh yeah, here's a nail file and stuff like that. I'm like, oh great. Off to a great start. But I wanted to do it, like, I chose the morning. I could have done it in the afternoon, but in the afternoon, it'd be competing against like the Majority Report and the Surfs and stuff, and just, knowing the split of the audience, it made more sense. But it was super interesting. And I really recommend that everyone go and watch 2 of his videos. So there was the video he did of his breakdown with Jank talking to Charlie Kirk at Amfest. And he brings in the perspective of like, those right-wingers there. They think you're a demon. That's irredeemable. That's not something that they want to work with. That's something they want to destroy. So bringing in that knowledge of like evangelical Christian into the conversation, I thought was super interesting. And he did actually get to talk to Jank. So if you go to the conversation, not the regular YouTube page for the Young Turks, because it's not like they would put this on their main channel. So if you go to the conversation, TYT, the conversation on YouTube, you can find it. Actually, well, it will, I'm going to be clipping it for my YouTube, my TYT video, my YTY video. Sorry, if you're up to date with all the drama, then you would understand that mocking reference. Oh, 56 Next Rich. Thank you so much for the $2. Somebody got to start that cash flow. Smiley face, thumbs up. Why, thank you. Yeah, but I watched the conversation between Tim and Jank, and it was just super interesting. And again, Jank is just, you know, he has this mindset that he's doing us a favor by advocating on us, our part. And when I say us, I mean like the queer community, trans people in particular. And he has this analogy like he's put himself in front of the freight train for the right-wingers, and then, you know, the centrist Democrats, the establishment Democrats, and now he's putting himself in the front of the freight train for the left and stuff like that. And it's like, if you keep on referring to the left as something you're fighting, at some point you're going to have to acknowledge you're not on it. But also just the analogy in itself was flawed, because it's like, so he is purposely putting himself, he's making that choice to put himself in front of the freight train. Meanwhile, people like me are tied down to the tracks. And we're yelling at Jank saying, can you cut the damn rope? And he's patting us on the head saying, you know, that might damage like the track or something. And I think you guys are just being totally unreasonable. Like, I'm just going to talk to this freight train barreling towards you and tell it kindly to stop. That's pretty much what is happening, the dynamic there. So anyway, super interesting conversation that he had with Jank. But be a little kind with him. He didn't push back in the way that one would hope, because Tim doesn't know a lot of this leftist sphere drama. It's not something that he's involved with. So there's a lot of areas where he didn't know how to push back. There were a lot of things that Jank said that Tim didn't know he was lying. So there's that. There is that. But, oh, why don't I check, see what people are saying in the Sandbox. There was some reference to alcohol and non-American alcohol here in Canada. The tariffs is the biggest part of what I'm covering today. Getting some Justin Trudeau speeches in. But like I said, any time now we're going to find out who the new Liberal leader is. So then there's no more Justin Trudeau. And of course now he's saving like some of his best speeches for his exit out, and still one of his worst. We'll get to it. But let's see, who else has joined? Gunstroke the Cybertonian, Rachel Atwood, Atticus Among Us. It's so great to see all of you out on this. It's a really beautiful day and I want to go out walking. But yeah, let's see. Jed, it looks good. You can also direct a soft light at it if it needs to show better. Oh, you're talking about the logos? Yeah, it wasn't working. It wasn't working, so let's see. Hello, Bad Lefty and Soul Life. I hope I'm not missing anyone. Monope, hello. I'm pretty sure I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I still don't know if I'm saying your name right. Soul Life. Jank had a friggin' tangent meltdown in members, and John sat there like, ugh. Yeah. I saw the Vanguard cover that, and it's just... I really want to keep this video down to a certain length. And when I say video, it's now videos, because I know one video is not, it's going to be too long to be one video. So like Jake is the left. Yeah. It's all about perspective, I suppose. Yeah, ask where Justin messed up. Oh, Zeke, may I ask where Justin messed up? He is in support of Israel, for one, in support of the genocide, sending lots of weapons in support, and we'll get to one of his exit speech clips, which just kind of spells that out dramatically. He's very two-faced, like, he's very good at performative aspects. And like when it comes to queer issues, I think he was being authentic and he was good on those issues. But when it comes to like indigenous peoples, people with disabilities, and other issues along those lines, he was horrid. Horrid. Like the way his treatment of people with disabilities is horrid. His treatment, like just the policies and stuff that he put towards indigenous peoples, horrid. They still side with the conservatives when it comes to a lot of taxation things and whatnot, and they keep on holding us back. And they made the NDP watered down the universal health care, the pharmacare and stuff, which is not universal. And so blatantly lying about a lot of things too. And yeah, it's a whole lot of that. A whole lot of that. I don't think the next Liberal leader, though, is going to be any better because it's not going to be Karina Gould. I was hoping, like, a long time ago, I was thinking she would make a good leader for the Liberals. And most likely it's going to be Mark Carney. Breaking news there. And there's going to be no change in how the party is structured, which means a lot of people, again, like people with disabilities, indigenous peoples, and things of that sort, will be left behind. He was all about the pro-worker and some of the speeches that he did about how like people who work are deserving of these extra benefits and things of that sort, because there was that little fiasco before Parliament got shut down about Justin Trudeau was going to also mail out like $250 to all the workers. He made it very clear to the workers, people with disabilities, you don't get any bonuses. And he made it clear because, well, the workers are deserving of it. People with disabilities, you don't deserve a good quality of life, basically. So a whole lot of that, among other things. But yeah, so I don't think Mark Carney is going to be any better. Might even be a little worse because I don't know where he stands on queer issues. So there's that. Like things when it comes to the protection of the environments, like ramming pipelines through that shouldn't be put through. Like literally the Liberal government invaded the Wet'suwet'en territory in BC. Like that is Wet'suwet'en land. It's was never Canadian land. It was the sovereign land of the Wet'suwet'en, and they forced a pipeline through it against the will of the people. Like literally had snipers there ready to, like, pointing guns at people that were trying to do a blockade and stuff, like, that sort of thing. Let's see. Zeke the Beast at list of Justin jaw drop. Yeah. It's he was not a good prime minister. Like he was better than the conservatives, as is normally the case with liberals. But yeah, and we'll get to one quote he said recently that is like, wow, that is a very dirty taste to leave in your mouth on your way out. But yeah, we'll get there. We will get there. But why don't we actually just get into it? Because the first speech that I have, ooh, thank you so much for the $10, Seek the Beast. Thanks for the summary of Justin's actions. Yeah, that is just a minor summary, but yeah, it gets the point across. Like, even if you go back to something like CERB, the Canadian Emergency Relief Benefit during COVID, people with disabilities did not qualify for it. They made sure of that. Like they purposely excluded people with disabilities, and some of the reasoning behind that being, well, they're getting by on what they already have, so why do they need any extra? Even though Justin Trudeau was like, well, $2,000 is the bare minimum that people need to get by. Meanwhile, people on disabilities get roughly half that. So yeah, not a fan. Not been a fan of Justin Trudeau, but I would be a fan of Karina Gould. I want to see if I can find the clip, because I know I've mentioned on my live stream before a long time ago that I thought she'd make a good leader for the Liberal Party, because she seemed to be the only one to acknowledge like the party wasn't listening to their base, that there needs to be a more progressive shift and things of that sort, whereas Chrystia Freeland and Mark Carney are more like, nope, status quo. In fact, we've been too progressive. We've been too far to the left. We got to move things back over to the center or to the right. Yeah. So let's get into it. So the first press conference that I have with Justin Trudeau in it, he does a decent job. So some of the pros of Justin Trudeau, he can do a very good job at delivering a speech. And this is about the tariffs specifically. And I had a whole bunch of clips floating around Twitter, but I'm like, you know what? At this point, it's just easier to show the full, well, it's 14 minutes and 10 seconds of his little press conference talking about the tariffs and Canada's relationship with the USA and stuff, because it's getting pretty tense. It's not very pleasant right now to be in this predicament, and it's completely unnecessary. Like, it is so unnecessary. My mind is kind of boggled as to like what Trump is hoping to accomplish with this, because it's not about fentanyl. It's not about illegal immigration coming over the Canadian border, because those are non-issues. They really are. But to start a trade war with your number, like, we might not do the most trade, but we're like the number one trading partner, as in relations, like the friend, the buddy, the partner. To have a country that you have such good relationships with, and to have that be a border country, like a border that, it's a non-militarized border because it doesn't need to be. Like, to have such good relations, trade across the border, people going back and forth, friends and family and all that sort of stuff, to just take that and put a whole bunch of TNT in it and just blow that up for no reason just boggles the mind. And Justin Trudeau has been very good at articulating the damage that Donald Trump is really doing to the reputation of the United States around the world, because, like it or not, the United States did have a certain reputation, like, agree with it or not, I mean. Because, like, if you know the Americans, and not the Americans, like the United States, the American dream is just a myth. But to a lot of people around the world, there still was that illusion, and Donald Trump has shattered that. Has he ever? And so then we get into some of the premiers and what they've been saying, Doug Ford in particular. So I will be talking about Doug Ford in the context of this tariff thing. But like I said, I'm going to be doing a separate video where I'm just talking about the election and really venting it out there. So let's get into it. Get my headphones on and ready. So this is from CBC News. And this is the full speech as opposed to the 5 clips that I had prepped from this speech. I figured at this point, I might as well just show the full speech, plus much better audio visual quality to it. I get so distracted by the Sandbox, though, when I see a lot of people chatting. I'm like, do I need to respond to anything? So here we go.
The United States launched a trade war against Canada. They're close.
And let me know if the volume's okay, because it's hard for me to tell how it is for you. Like, it's a tinge quiet for me, but give me a thumbs up if the audio is good, or let me know if it should go higher or lower.
Closest partner and ally, their closest friend. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Make that make sense. Canadians are reasonable, and we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight. Not when our country and the well-being of everyone in it is at stake. At the moment, the U.S. tariffs came into effect in the early hours of this morning, and so did the Canadian response.
And one of those things I was mentioning earlier about some of the responses already, I think we'll get to it, but basically it's like we need to protect the workers and think about that. And again, it's always about the workers, the people with disabilities. Well, you're already suffering, so you get left behind.
Canada will be implementing 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods, starting with tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods immediately, and tariffs on the remaining $125 billion of American products in 21 days' time.
So unlike what Trump was originally doing, he's reeled back some of his tariff talk. The tariffs that the Canadian government are putting forth are on things where there are substitutes here in Canada, for the most part. Because they're trying to do it in such a way where it won't hurt Canadians as much. Whereas, Donald Trump was just putting a blanket tariff on everything, which means the cost of everything in the United States would go up because tariffs are not a tax. They're not a tax. It's not how it works.
Encore aujourd'hui, on se voit forcé d'imposer des droits de douane de 25%.
And we can skip past the French because whenever they speak French, they're just repeating what they said in English.
5% territories to pursue several non-tariff measures which will demonstrate that there are no winners in a trade war. Now, just like I did a month ago, I want to speak first directly to the American people.
And it's good that he does this. Again, he's very good at the performative aspect of just giving a speech that's engaging. And like just the fact that he's like, now I'm talking to the American people. Like, we're not trying to blame the American people. But, your government, there's some issues there. And he does have the ability to do it in a very personable way. It's just somebody like me will often roll their eyes when they see this because we've also seen him do this in situations, again, like kneeling at the grave of the unmarked grave of an Indigenous child, putting down a teddy bear with a tear coming out of his eye. But then how's the clean drinking water going in those communities? How is that? Oh, right. Not solved, huh? Things like that. Or it's like, oh, so you're still taking survivors of residential schools to court. Okay. Oh, so you're appealing that ruling that the Supreme Court said that you need to pay out Indigenous peoples all this money for lack of health care and things of that sort. Oh, you're appealing that. Okay. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Oops.
We don't want this. We want to work with you as a friend and ally. And we don't want to see you hurt either. But your government has chosen to do this to you. As of this morning, markets are down, and inflation is set to rise dramatically all across your country. Your government has chosen to put American jobs at risk, at the thousands of workplaces that succeed because of materials from Canada or because of consumers in Canada, or both. They've chosen to raise costs for American consumers on everyday essential items like groceries and gas, on major purchases like cars and homes.
Okay, I saw something on Twitter on the weekend, and I have to know if it's true or not. They were saying a dozen eggs are going for $13. Is that real? That can't be real. Like, seriously, that cannot be real. I just, that's not real, right? It's not $13 for eggs in the United States, right? Right? Right?
And everything in between. They've chosen to harm American national security, impeding access to the abundant critical minerals, energy, building materials, and fertilizers that we have and that the United States needs to grow and prosper. They've chosen to launch a trade
56 Nick Rich. I'm so ADHD right now. You were wondering about the Liberal leadership race vote. I don't know if they've settled on it. the voting has stopped, and they have to cycle through it because it's a majority type thing. It's kind of like rank voting. So they might have to go through several rounds before they know who the winner is. So last time I checked, they didn't know who the winner was. Chances are in the next hour or so we'll know.
War that will, first and foremost, harm American families. They've chosen to sabotage their own agenda that was supposed to usher in a new golden age for the United States. And they've chosen to undermine the incredible work we've done together to tackle the scourge that is fentanyl, a drug that must be wiped from the face of the earth. So on that point, let me be crystal clear. There is absolutely no justification or need whatsoever for these tariffs today. Now, the legal...
Yeah. Like, the whole reason why they were delayed for 30 days the last time was because Trump took the win. He took the win saying, oh, because now we're getting a fentanyl czar here in Canada and things of that sort. Therefore, it's the win, even though a lot of what he said was the win were things that were promised like back in December type thing. There's no need for these tariffs. Fentanyl getting into the United States from Canada is a non-issue. It is a carry-on bag, if that much. You know, that's not an issue. Yeah, you're getting a lot of illegal immigrants from Canada, but it's not because they're just crossing the border. It's because they're overstaying visas. Yeah, Canadians are like the biggest offender in that one. I don't think that's going to be much of the case anymore because there's a lot of Canadians no longer feeling safe in the United States for, you know, reasons.
Pretext your government is using to bring in these tariffs is that Canada is apparently unwilling to help in the fight against illegal fentanyl. Well, that is totally false. Let's look at the facts.
Sorry, I'm getting so distracted with the Sandbox. Because Norwell by nature is just wondering about Elon's relationship to Canada. Well, he is a dual citizen here in Canada. His mother was Canadian. And he supports our right-wing conservative politicians like Pierre Poilievre. Other than that, we'll get into the Starlink contract that Doug Ford had here for Ontario. So he has some contract negotiations and stuff like that, but he doesn't have a prominent role here. But since he, you know, has Twitter, that is problematic for this upcoming election because he has definitely shown a favoritism towards Pierre Poilievre for just the fact that Pierre Poilievre is a right-wing mouthpiece. He's an NPC, as I say, non-player character. That's all Pierre Poilievre is. And Elon will most likely use that.
Our border is already safe and secure. Far less than 1% of fentanyl flows and less than 1% of illegal crossings into the United States comes from Canada. But we acted because we know we can always do better. We responded to concerns, including from the President, by implementing an ambitious $1.3 billion border plan. A border plan that includes generational investments in new AI and imaging tools to stop the flow of fentanyl in its tracks, stronger coordination and information sharing with American agencies, along with the deployment of drones, helicopters, and additional personnel to keep our border secure. Now, a month ago, as part of an agreement with the United States that paused the tariffs, we made further commitments. We appointed Kevin Brasseau as our fentanyl czar.
I was hoping for the littlest hobo. Canadians will know that reference. And thank you so much, Norwell by Nature, for the $5. Oh, whoa, I'm sorry to hear that, and thank you for answering. Yeah, I try to get to questions like that when I can. But yeah, this next election, the amount of misinformation. In fact, I've covered it on my live stream. when they were saying that there was no real foreign interference, there were things that were uncouth, like things that were not necessarily appropriate, but there was no direct foreign interference. And that same report also said that the biggest danger we're going to face now is the spread of misinformation, and Elon Musk is one of the primary spreaders of that information. And Pierre Poilievre just is, again, he's a representation. He's a non-player character of the right wing and will just spout out whatever is programmed into him.
A man who dedicated his multi-decade career in law enforcement to combating organized crime networks and drug trafficking. We designated 7 drug cartels, sick, evil groups who cynically profit off the pain and suffering of people on both sides of the border, as the terrorist organizations that they are. And just yesterday, we launched a new joint operations partnership supported by a $200 million investment between Canada's security and law enforcement agencies, a partnership that will enhance the coordination of information and intelligence in order to thwart criminal gangs involved in the illegal fentanyl trade. And critically, our actions are working. As the U.S. Customs and Border Protection just acknowledged, there was a 97% drop in fentanyl seizures from January compared to December, to a near zero low of less than half an ounce seized in January, even with all the further enforcements and actions we've taken at the borders. In sum, we stepped up. We engaged closely and constructively with the President and his administration. We did everything we promised. We stuck to our word. And we did.
Yeah, we did our end of the bargain, and yet here's Donald Trump just going off crazy. Like, I don't know if you guys all watch Invincible, but I'm actually a huge fan of Invincible. And the bad guy, I don't want to give a spoiler, but let's just say, if you're the bad guy and you show you're unreliable, at some point somebody's going to have a little bit more power over you, and they're not going to be so friendly to deal with if they understand that your word, that your principles have no value whatsoever. And the United States is going to get into a find out phase, which, is not something I want. I don't want that for, basically the same reasons Justin Trudeau is talking about. A lot of people in America who are already just struggling to get by, people innocent of all this politics, it's them who's going to suffer. It's not the CEOs of these companies. It's not the people in the government. They're not the ones who will be suffering from what Donald Trump is doing. It's just going to be the average person that's already maybe struggling to get by, that, can't afford eggs anymore. I don't know why eggs are the thing. Like that's the focal point. Because you can live without eggs. I'm just saying. There's other things that if there were extreme price ranges in, that are more important, but there are substitutes to eggs. But yeah, it's all the people that are going to get hurt, that are just innocent in all of this politics, that are just pawns in all of this, that just get trampled over and walked over by somebody like Donald Trump. And the day will come when he's going to get his comeuppance from other nations no longer cooperating. But then again, it's the people, the citizens, that will bear the biggest brunt of that. And it's not fair to the people in America to be going through this. Because for multiple different reasons, not everyone voted for Donald Trump. And even those who did, a lot of them were misled. A lot of them had their anger and stuff tapped in such a way that was inauthentic and just used in order to get them to the polls to vote one way without any sincerity behind wanting to help them. And it's a very sad state for all those people, because the rest of the world will just keep on ticking by. And in the end, it's going to be the people in America, I feel, that will be suffering the most.
Did it because we believe in working together to protect our citizens. Now I want to speak directly to one specific American, Donald.
And again, I like this. I like this very, like, talking directly. Like, first it was directly to the American people. Now he's directly talking to Donald Trump. Like, not... It's nice to have that directness finally, because so often we're used to politicians just kind of like inferring things, but not directly saying things. So it's nice to just be like, no, I'm talking to you now. But of course, Justin can do all of this because today is his last day as prime minister.
Over 8 years, you and I have worked together. We've done big things.
Like pipelines.
We signed a historic deal that has created record jobs and growth in both of our countries. We've done big things together on the world stage, as Canada and the US have done together for decades. For
like selling arms to Israel.
generations. And now we should be working together to ensure even greater prosperity for North Americans in a very uncertain and challenging world. Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
The right-wing outrage at that. By Justin saying, this is a very dumb thing to do. Like, I'm more outraged that they referred to Donald Trump as being smart. But the outrage, like, the decorum, oh no! Justin Trudeau said this was a dumb thing for Donald Trump to do. How dare he say something so rude? And it's like, have you heard Donald Trump speak at all? He did that thing not too long ago, that American thing where he's just talking in front of all the politicians and stuff. He was using slurs, racial slurs in it. This is very modest language. To just say, not even saying, you're dumb. It's saying, this is a dumb thing to do. And it is. Like, it is just, there's no reason for these tariffs, and you're just gonna fuck up a lot of lives with it. Americans and Canadians. Like, it's yeah, but the outrage I saw online over Justin Trudeau saying this, again, it's the whole contrast between what the right can get away with and what the left can get away with. And I'm like, yeah, in this aspect, they're viewing him on the left. They're viewing Justin Trudeau as being on the left. I see him just a tiny bit right of center, but that's me. He's still to the left of those right-wingers. So again, perspective.
We two friends fighting is exactly what our opponents around the world want to see. And now, to my fellow Canadians, I won't sugarcoat it. This is going to be tough, even though we're all going to pull together, because that's what we do. We will use every tool at our disposal so Canadian workers and businesses can weather this storm.
You hear that? So Canadian workers and businesses can weather the storm. Just dumb. But if you live with a disability, go fuck yourself.
From expanding EI benefits and making them more flexible to providing direct supports to businesses, we will be there as needed to help. But Canada, make no mistake, no matter how long this lasts, no matter what the cost, the federal government and other orders of government will be there for you. We will defend Canadian jobs. We will take measures to prevent predatory behavior that threatens Canadian companies because of the impacts of this trade war, leaving them open to takeovers. We will relentlessly fight to protect our economy. We will stand up for Canadians every single second of every single day, because this country is worth fighting for.
Again, I always fall back on, I'm not a proud Canadian, but I'm very, very grateful to live here with, you know, the privileges that I have as being somebody who presents, well, I'm white, but presents as a woman, straight woman type thing. I'm very, very grateful for the privileges that has allotted me over life. I'm far, if I was alive in America, like born and raised in America, I would not have made it this far, because basically healthcare issues and things of that sort. And just, I have a lot more personal freedoms up here, despite what the Americans like to say. You know, I'm not going to get discriminated against the same way as if I was American. So I'm very, very grateful to be Canadian. Proud is a little, that's a loaded term right there, though.
Les derniers mois,
the recent months have been stressful and, in fact, exhausting for all of us. But I believe we can be reassured by the incredible solidarity we've seen among Canadians, and to illustrate that the impetus of opportunities to talk to, which is also worry Canadian. I saw you defend our culture and ensure it can flourish. I saw you efforts to stand up for together. We will get through some tough times. But after seeing you and seeing your reaction in recent weeks, I have to say I have never been as optimistic with respect to the future of our beautiful country, in spite of all the walk hand in hand.
Okay, so it's just French to end off. Okay, so it's a good thing I didn't close one of those tabs, because this is just the press conference. There was a question period after that, and there's a clip from that I also wanted to cover. So it's a good thing I didn't close that one tab, but that had most of what I wanted to get to with that. So we have Justin Trudeau. He's a very good speaker. He's very good at like reaching out to people, of resonating, of, you know, making people believe in this maple washed version of Canada, of making people feel like they're being heard. He's very good at that. You know, compare and contrast to Pierre Poilievre. So bad. Pierre Poilievre is horrid when it comes to communication. So here is his Twitter. Oh, I didn't make it big yet. Let's do this. If all you're wondering how to do that, you just hit Control and plus and minus to make that bigger. Makes it easier for people to read on the screen. But here's Pierre Poilievre finally having to say, Mr. President, it is true. I am not MAGA. I am for Canada first. Always. You know, the whole Canada first thing is a very MAGA slogan right there. America first, Canada first. Canada has always been America's best friend and ally, but will never be the 51st state. Well, let's hear him say it.
Let me be clear. We will never be the 51st state. We will bear any burden and pay any price to protect the sovereignty and independence of our country. Let me.
That's just a 15-second clip that they have to put music behind to make him sound more dynamic. You see this a lot with clips from Pierre Poilievre, the music that they add to the background, because just listening to him straight is painful, as we're about to listen. So this is Jason Pug, I guess. I don't know how to say his name. Just tweeted this out, and well, let's watch the clip. And the clip is from CPAC, which is our government broadcasting channel type thing. Oh, right. I wanted to go to that spot that I was... that's the spot that I wanted to be at. Right there, I think. Sometimes I put timestamps that I want to actually cut to. And sometimes I forget that I was watching it thinking, yeah, I'll go over it. Anyway, this is roughly where I wanted to go to in this clip.
One at a time.
Let me be clear. I'm going to combine the two questions. The gentleman asked in French about President Trump's comments on me. The president says that he doesn't like me. He doesn't think that I'm a MAGA guy. I am not. It is true that I am Canada first. I am only for Canada. I'm fighting for the interests of this people and this country. And if that upsets foreign leaders, including the American president, I'm fine with that, because I have one job to do, and it's to fight for this country.
You notice for a lot of this, where his eye level is, like again, Justin Trudeau, he's looking out. He's looking out at the camera. He's speaking more to the heart. But when he looks down, when Pierre looks down like this, not that I'm a body language expert or anything, it's him trying to be like, fuck. Damn it. Why do I have to say this? Ah! That's kind of the vibe that I get. That it's like, oh, because he has made his whole brand by copying Donald Trump. Like slogans, mannerisms, all that sort of stuff. And now it has taken one hell of a chunk out of his ass. Like, it's not being bitten in the ass. It's like half the ass has just been like ripped off right there. Like, that's how painful this must be for him right now.
And let me be also clear. We will never be the 51st state. We will be self-reliant, sovereign, and stand on our own feet. We will be an independent and a sovereign country, and I will always stand up for our flag and our people.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And also, what's with the makeup? Is it me, or is he looking a little orange there? But he looks even more orange in this one. And this is from his account. And it's like, wow, you really don't want to be Donald Trump, but you're using the same facial routines now. Like, I suspect he's been sick lately. Like, if you see footage of him from just after Christmas and stuff like that, he looks wrecked. Like, there's something going on. And now it's like trying to add life by going in a little bit too heavy with that foundation. Because, you see, you don't have to go that dark. I'm wearing foundation right now, foundation and concealer. It can be pale. It doesn't have to be orange. There's no orange hint in this. You know, I have it on. It matches my skin tone of being pale ass. But, you know, it's pale. It's pale. That is not his natural skin color there that he's trying to blend, you know. But I just wanted to listen to like the first minute of this.
Back down from.
To get just a feeling of how dynamic and interesting he is to listen to. And this is on his Twitter account. It's his Twitter account. It's yeah. But since it's a whole thing, it's like 20, almost a half hour long. They didn't put the dynamic music behind it, and you can feel the difference.
My message to the president is this. Knock it off. Stop the chaos. You are hurting your workers, your consumers, and most immediately, destroying trillions of dollars of wealth on your own stock market. You're attacking a cherished friend of the United States, and you are strengthening America's enemies by going after America's friends. Stop tariffing our country and stop the monthly melodrama that is hurting our economies on both sides of the border. If you want American workers to have bigger paychecks and lower prices, then let's do more trade, not less. But if you choose otherwise, we will retaliate, we will fight back, and we will defend ourselves because we will always put Canada first.
He sounds like he's an AI robot, like a non-player character. His voice is very monotone. Like it was just programmed into him to say these things. Like I've come across YouTube videos that are as dynamic as that because they've had AI programming to do the voiceovers, which I really hate. Like, I hate those channels. As soon as I hear them, it's like, oh, that's AI right there speaking. Like, really, I'm pretty sure they just kind of like, this is where AI messes up because there's a lot of people who maybe got involved with AI who, generally speaking, are white cis male and might lean towards more to the right and stuff. And they're like, who should we model AI after? Because especially if you look at people like Elon Musk and stuff like that and his grok and what they want to do with his AI. And so it's like, well, why don't we model our AI after Pierre Poilievre? Because he's like going to be the next leader of Canada or something, eh? So we'll model it after him, and it'll be so lifelike if we model our AI after someone like Pierre Poilievre. But you see, it's not just Pierre Poilievre that speaks like this. Like Doug Ford, we'll get to him in just a bit. He's an outlier when it comes to conservatives speaking in front of the camera. Because Doug Ford, again, he has a lot of the same talent as Justin Trudeau does when it comes to speaking to a camera, which is part of the reason why he's still so popular among some people. Conservatives are shit at this, partly because they don't like pop culture, they don't like art, they don't like expression, like self-expression. None of that. They don't want to tap into emotions because they don't believe they should have any. Like all of this. And so sometimes it is hilarious watching them try to emphasize something, but they're coming across like they're auditioning for a high school play and not even at their own high school. I present to you Michael Cooper, who's an MP. Again, get to know your politician. So he's a Conservative Member of Parliament for St. Albert, Edmonton, Shadow Minister for Democratic Reform. I'm trying to think like an apt comparison for what you're about. You're not prepared for it. You're not prepared for how bad he is at speaking. It's like the high school jock who's never done a day of drama in his life, thinking, yeah, I'm just going to go in and nail this audition. Just totally nail it. I'm the next, I'm going to be in Midsummer Night's Dream. I'm going to be that thing in the Midsummer Night's Dream. Like, what is it? There's like a horse or something. Yeah, I'm going to totally be that. In Midsummer Night's Dream. That's me. You are not prepared for how bad this guy is at speaking. And quite honestly, here's the thing. If you want to be a politician, you got to learn. This is a skill you need as a politician because you have to be able to communicate your message to the masses. You can't just, do nothing. You have to be, that's part of the job is being a public speaker.
Mark Carney will never put Canada first. Need proof? Carney wants to be the Prime Minister of Canada, but yet as recently as 2 years ago on the international stage, declared himself to be something other than Canadian. In a room full of globalists at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Carney declared himself to be a European.
Mark, you look like you were about to...
yeah, it was a tell.
As a European, as a
European, I am a European, actually.
You are?
Yeah, Irish citizen, yeah. So there you go.
Welcome.
He lived in Europe for about 15 years, so he kind of does get to say that.
Speaking as a European.
A European? Let that sink in for a moment. Carney wants to be the Prime Minister of Canada, the leader of our great country, yet 2 short years ago identified as a European. Is that
a European? Let that sink in. A Canadian who identifies as a European? A white Canadian? Who a European, just let that sink in. A European in Canada. In Canada, there's a European. Don't know how you can trust those Europeans. In Canada. Those, yeah, he had done, Is it sinking in? Sinking in?
That's something that a proud Canadian would say? Are those the words of a leader who will put Canada first? I don't think so. Need more proof? During the current Liberal leadership race, Carney all but admitted that he will not put Canada first when he proudly called himself a globalist and an elitist.
People will charge me as being elitist or a globalist, to use that term, which is, well, that's exactly, it happens to be exactly what we need.
Really?
He never actually said he was, though. Just saying. Semantics there, I get it. But yeah, Mark Carney has background in banking, and kind of envisioning that you need to have global connections for the economy and things of that sort. Like, you can't just be so isolationist these days in a world that's so interconnected.
A globalist and an elitist who thinks he's better than you? Is that what Canada needs at this time? Well, that's exactly what we've had over the past 9 years under the disastrous leadership of Justin Trudeau. Just like Carney, Trudeau likes to hang out in Davos at the World Economic Forum. Okay, yeah, I've had enough of this guy, but you kind of get the gist of, like, yeah, that's their speakers there. So good at this. Bad lefty. Or no, Philip Blair saying 8 days until St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, what nationality is St. Patrick's Day that, Canadians go apeshit over? But don't you dare call yourself European if you're white in Canada. You hear that? He's European. Let that sink in. Somebody in the Canadian government that has connections to Europe. The horror. Like, this guy has none. But here is another little clip from that speech. So I guess this was during the question period that I wanted to get to. From Justin Trudeau. Again, a far more dynamic speaker. And I like what he says here. So again, just compare and contrast. We just heard from this doorknob, Justin Trudeau again.
Does the Canadian government believe these tariffs from Donald Trump is an act of war from the U.S.?
Canadians are not angry at the American people for this. We don't have anything against Americans. Americans are our neighbors, our friends, our partners. We do things together. We've done things together for decades and generations. This is a policy decision by the American government designed to go after the Canadian economy. This is a trade war, yes. But Canadians are hurt. Canadians are angry. We're going to choose to not go on vacation in Florida or Old Orchard Beach or wherever. We're going to choose to try to buy Canadian products and forego bourbon and other classic American products. And yeah, we're probably going to keep booing the American anthem. But let me...
Hell yeah. I like that acknowledgement, actually. That we're going to keep on booing the American anthem. Because, again, one of the things I've seen are Americans get so offended by that. And it's like, you're attacking our country out of the blue for no reason at all. We're going to boo the American national anthem. You're not making friends here. In fact, you're burning all the bridges to the friends that you had up here by doing this. Like, even a lot of Americans are like, yeah, you guys got this one. Boo the American anthem. You're in the right in this one. Because what Donald Trump is doing to this country is completely uncalled for. And I like Justin Trudeau just being like, yeah, we're going to keep on booing it.
American anthem. But let me tell Americans, we're not booing you. We're not booing your teams. We're not booing your players. We're booing a policy that is designed to hurt us. And we're insulted. And we're angry. but we're Canadian, which means we're going to stand up for each other. We're going to fight. And we're going to win.
So much better on the delivery, but also, again, compare and contrast. So Justin Trudeau is free to say this sort of thing because he's leaving office, for one thing. Well, he's not leaving office. He's leaving being prime minister. I don't know if he plans on running in the next election to remain as an MP or not. We'll find out shortly, I'm sure. Sorry, I have a very furry potato on my lap right now, and he's heavy. So he's free to say this, whereas a lot of the conservatives still are doing this balancing act of like, we want to be Canadian nationalists, but we also want to be friends with the American right-wingers and Donald Trump in particular. So how do you balance that line when you have, you know, the people that you've been kind of building coalitions with now attacking you? Because, you know, Justin Trudeau, we're going to keep on booing your national anthem. Doug Ford, you're crossing the line with that. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Stu, update, sorry. Results are in. Mark Carney wins Liberal leadership race. Follow for live updates. Oh, okay, I kind of knew that one was coming. So we'll look in more into it when we get to that part of this live stream. But not surprised, let's put it that way. So Doug Ford says, crossing the line, urges Canadians not to boo the U.S. anthem amid trade war. Yeah, during a trade war. Don't show your discontentness with the country that is starting a trade war for no reason. But where's the quote? The American people are going to pay the price for this, unfortunately. They are good people. Please don't take it out on the American people. And one more thing, please do not boo the national anthem either in Canada or the U.S. There are soldiers that have fought for our freedoms, our democracy, our sovereignty. They have laid their lives on the line, Ford said. Boo the referee, boo the players. If you want, do not boo the American national anthem. And to my American friends, do not boo the Canadian national anthem. That's crossing a line. Boo. Yeah, like, I like Justin Trudeau saying, like, we are booing your policy. We are booing what the American president is doing to our country. Whereas here's Ford saying, no, boo the players. Boo them personally. Don't boo the American national anthem. Boo the people. Boo them. Boo. Boo, 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 boo. But let's hear a little bit more from Doug Ford, because again, he's a bit better in front of the camera than most conservatives are. Okay, kind of curious there. Click. This is distracting having this on now.
We'll always stand up for what is just and fair.
Oh, this is live right now.
Et vous
Oh, yay.
You're a source of
Jean-Chrétien
inspiration for all Canadians across the land.
Of course, I just randomly hop in and they're speaking French. Of course, of course. Anyway, let's get back to the actual order of my docket. And we'll get into that in a moment. Let's see. So, Doug Ford says, don't boo the national anthem, but if they want to try to annihilate Ontario, I will do anything, include cutting off their energy with a smile on my face. Let's listen to him.
If they want to try to annihilate Ontario, I will do everything, including cut off their energy, with a smile on my face.
But don't you dare boo them.
So, and I'm encouraging every other province to do the same. Quebec, Manitoba, BC, we all have to act in unison. Out east, they rely on our energy. They need to feel the pain. They want to come at us hard, we're going to come back twice as hard. If they want to try to annihilate Ontario...
Yeah, but don't you dare boo them. So a little bit more on that. Ontario slapping 25% surcharge on U.S.-bound electricity Monday, Ford says. Province provides electricity to New York, Michigan, and Minnesota. But this is a bit more nuanced than one might think. And this was the actual clip I wanted to watch. So let's watch this clip. Because you can impose a tax and stuff on things, but it has to be in demand? Well, it explains it a little bit here.
Mayor Ford, thanks so much for joining us.
Premier Doug Ford was once again on a U.S. TV network Thursday morning, telling CNN that starting Monday, electricity the province sends to 3 U.S. states will cost 25% more.
Honestly, it really bothers me. We have to do this. I don't want to do this. I want to send more electricity.
It'll mean a big price hike for the 1.5 million U.S. customers Ontario supplies with electricity. Homes and businesses in the northern states of Michigan, New York, and Minnesota. Ford believes he can make the change without having to recall the legislature. He later told reporters that
you know what would have been easier is if there wasn't an election that just happened, then they could all be in the House right now, as opposed to spending all that time, resources into an election that didn't need to do anything and in fact lost him a few seats. That whole stronger mandate that he wanted that ended up losing him a few seats. I'll be getting into that in my video that I make about the recap. Anyway.
That even if Donald Trump were to put a 1-month pause on tariffs to Canada, the increase would remain in place.
He did this before. Remember, he said he'd do it 1 month, 3 days later, a week later, he puts the tariffs on. So as I always say, you know, you touch a stove once and you get burnt. You don't touch that stove again. The only deal is drop the tariffs unconditionally.
And later, Trump did add that 1-month pause on products covered by the Canada-US-Mexico Free Trade Agreement, signed during his first presidency, meaning Ontario electricity.
All right, and I wanted to show a little clip. Remember those good old days when, you know, Donald Trump was proud of the deals that he did? So this is, I don't know who that is. So a video of Trump proudly signing the USMCA agreement in 2018 that he now says is very unfair to the US, and that was signed by a fool.
With our signatures today, we will formally declare the intention of our 3 countries to replace NAFTA with the USMCA. The USMCA is the largest, most significant, modern, and balanced trade agreement in history. All of our countries will benefit greatly. With our signatures.
So yeah, that whole deal that I did back then, tariffs. It's a bad deal now.
Could go way up in price for Americans in days. One academic applauds the idea, but isn't sure it'll work.
Unfortunately, Ontario doesn't have leverage in this space. For the most part, Ontario exports to the United States because it has to. That we are in situations where generation exceeds domestic demand.
Ford's office promises.
So that's interesting there. You know, that's, I think, part of the perspective that we're not seeing is that we're making too much energy. And I heard that guy speaking even longer on a different clip where it's like, we almost have to pay other people to take that energy because it's like literally too much for us. And if we don't send our energy or we cause it to become more expensive or something for Americans, then it's going to end up biting us in the end, because then those areas will just start getting their energy from somewhere else, leaving Ontario high and dry when that tries to get reversed. But it's not unlike Doug Ford to just announce these big, bold things without looking into the nuance first. He just thinks it sounds strong, and it does. But in practicality, can he do this? What are the consequences? Would they just find alternative sources? Why are we exporting? What will we lose in that export of energy to the United States? Like, there's all these nuances that he just never takes into consideration, but he says these big, strong phrases that make people think, oh, he's the person that can deal with America right now, with Donald Trump and these tariffs, because he says these big things. Because I haven't looked too much into it. But again, it's one of those things like, because there's the pulling the American alcohol off the stores of the LCBO. And we're like the largest purchaser of alcohol and all this sort of stuff, and it's going to hurt people. And then some people would be like, well, if you bought it, take it off the shelves. You've already bought it. But then some people are saying that it was co-signed, so, or not co-signed, consignment. So the dealers only make money on what's sold. And if it's not sold, then it gets sent back. But then other people would be like, no, actually Ontario already has bought it. So we're taking product off the shelf that we've already paid for it. So it's not hurting the supplier. Sorry. Lanier, you get down from there. Down. Lanier is where he's not supposed to be. Down. No, don't just look at me. You get down from there. You're going to mess up all my slinkies. Just come here. Come down. He's not very good at listening to me. Come on, down. Down. Kitty cats. Yay. So I don't trust a lot of threats that Doug Ford does, because I don't know how much validity they actually have to make a difference. Because he doesn't necessarily do things based on effectiveness. He does things based on how he thinks it will be sold to the audience. Kind of like, oh, we're going to make a tunnel under the highway. The biggest infrastructure project in the world. It will be like $100 billion, really? And that's going to improve people's lives. How? It's going to make you stuck in a traffic jam underground.
More details on Monday on the extra charge to U.S. customers. Later in the day, Ford was back on another U.S. network, Fox.
Isn't this a shame? It's an absolute mess.
During the interview, the host played an old clip from President Trump after he signed the trade deal with Canada and Mexico.
The USMCA is the largest, fairest, most balanced and modern trade agreement ever achieved.
Ford then repeated his harsh words for Trump to a U.S. audience, saying he believes the tariffs are not about fentanyl or illegal border crossings.
Don't use this as an excuse, because that's all it is an absolute excuse. He wants to declare an economic war on his closest friends, his closest allies in the entire world.
Ford's office says there will be no change to any retaliatory measures Ontario has added until the tariff threat is gone, meaning U.S. alcohol will stay off LCBO shelves. Loretta Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
And so, you have to, the small wins, like at least Doug Ford is pushing back, or trying to make it look like he's pushing back against Donald Trump, because as was shown in my video that I did about Doug Ford, and I've talked about it before, Doug Ford has claimed to be a Republican, a Republican at heart. He was a fan of Donald Trump and all that sort of stuff. So at least he is pushing back on that, because it's one of those things where Canadian nationalism is taking precedent over, trying to kiss up to Donald Trump. But then you have Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta. If Pierre Poilievre gets to be Prime Minister of Canada, you can expect this language from him.
Premier of Alberta, Canada, Danielle Smith. Last year, Alberta sold more than $160 billion of goods to the United States, including more than $130 billion of energy, which does get tariffed, but only 10%, not 25%. Thank you for joining us. What is your reaction from what you just heard from Trudeau?
So disappointing. We've been doing everything we can, not only our federal government, but all of the subnational governments to try to avoid this outcome. As you heard, we've been working on the border And we've been putting up drones, putting up helicopters, putting up more personnel. We've been very successful in stopping people from coming across the border from the United States. We've been stopping drugs from coming across the border from the United States. We've brought those numbers down. We thought that that was what the U.S. president wanted. And to see this escalation is so disappointing, so damaging.
We've done everything that he wanted, and it's still not good enough for him. We've capitulated in every way, and still he's pushing it. Gee, I wonder why. Like, you notice how this isn't happening with Mexico right now, because Claudia Sheinbaum, right from the beginning, right from the get-go, had very strong stances and was pushing back. You know, she didn't get a cutesy little nickname like the governor of Mexico or anything of that sort, because she showed strength from the start. Justin Trudeau didn't. Not so much. He wanted to do the whole capitulation, the whole, we'll work together and stuff. And then they wonder why then Donald Trump is still acting the way he is.
Initially to American consumers and American businesses who buy Canadian goods and raw materials, but then now with the counter tariffs, it's also going to be harmful to Canadian consumers. No one wins a tariff war, and so we want to go back to looking at the agreement that we signed, the USMCA, that has served us well for a number of years, and I don't know why the president is behaving this way, because it's illegal. We're going to challenge it, and we would like to get back to negotiating some of the pressure points on that.
Yeah, and so basically we've done everything he said, and he's still not happy. That is what Pierre Poilievre will be doing, should he become prime minister. Very much just kind of like, I don't know what it is about Donald Trump, but we keep on doing everything he says, and he keeps on pushing it and says that he wants more. Funny how that works when you keep on giving him everything he wants. Then he still wants to take more, and he's never satisfied, and things of that sort. Like this whole idea, I don't know why the president is behaving this way. Because he can. Because right now in his own government, there's not the pushback, there's not the resistance happening. And so he's doing it because he can get away with it. He would have done this in the first term if he knew he could get away with it. Like the first term was just a test run of everything he's doing now. It would have been better if Donald Trump had like 2 consecutive terms. But having that break in between really allowed him to learn from his mistakes and to get things in order for the next time he ran, to make sure that they can actually do all the things that they wanted to do the first time. Let's see. So just more news here about Doug Ford saying, well, we're just not going to do the American contracts then, if this is how Donald Trump wants to play.
Is off the shelves. Also, starting today, all U.S.-based companies will be banned from taking part in government procurement. Every year, the province and its agencies spend about $30 billion on procurement, alongside our more than $200 billion plan to build infrastructure. U.S.-based businesses will now lose out on tens of billions of dollars in revenues. They only have President Trump to blame. I'm also urging all 444 municipalities to do.
So does that mean that he's going to be tearing up that contract for Staples to take over Ontario Services? You know, the place where we go to get like our driver's license and ID and government stuff like that, where he's paying an American company millions and millions of dollars to do that now? Is that one? No, that's still fine. Like it's bullshit. He likes to do this thing of Canada is not for sale. He sells Canada off. That's what he's been doing his entire time in office. He is one of the most corrupt politicians I can think of for like the continent. He is just beyond corruption. The idea that he won't have any American business interests in mind. Yeah, right. like he's again claiming that he's tearing up the Starlink contract, but he should have stuck with it in the first place the first time he threatened to tear it up, and then like the same day reversed his mind because, oh, well, Donald Trump reversed his mind on tariffs for 30 days. That contract is just paying Elon Musk $100 million for, it was 15,000 units of Starlink that, when broken down from the 100 millions, was $6,667 per unit, when at retail they sell about $500 at cost, like at retail per unit. That's one hell of a tip to a billionaire. This deal should have never been made in the first place, but he did that for American interests. He did that as a way to tip Elon Musk, to give Elon Musk a whole hell of a lot of Canadian taxpayer money. Not to mention all the ads that Doug Ford has been putting onto American airwaves. How's that helping Canadians? But then we have Wab Kinew. So again, let's get to know our politicians. Wab Kinew. He is the Premier of Manitoba, and we'll be talking a little bit more about him later on too, as a follow-up to his story. So he's also doing the thing of like pulling American booze off the shelves in Manitoba liquor marts and things, but the way he does it, he's got the sauce in this one. I think so. I think he does a good job with this.
Okay, this order, it's a wonderful order. It's a beautiful order. This order is pulling American booze off the liquor mart shelves. Okay.
He's just copying exactly what Trump. A wonderful, beautiful order pulling American booze off the shelves. I love the subtle mocking of Donald Trump in this. It's kind of awesome. You know, the big signing of it and then holding it up for people to see as they all clap around him. Perfect. Perfect. The subtle mocking of Donald Trump in all this. Loved it. Let's see. I'm just trying to think of where to take a break from this. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break from the docket to check the Sandbox. And welcome everyone who has since joined the Sandbox and watching me. MIDI Doctors has hopped in, Super Strike 9, Philip Blair, Mozart, probably a lot of people that I'm not going to see the names of, Grand Theft Auto. Hi everyone. For those of you who are joining later, it's so close to being ready. And I don't mean the TYT video, but my book that I've been writing, that I wrote, I got the proof, so it will be in paperback very soon. But when I got the proof, the cover was a bit too dark. It printed too dark, so I had to lighten it. But then also I decided to look into it, and I found a few mistakes in the manuscript. And when I say a few, I mean like all of those. So what I did over a couple days is to unwind from the election was to read my own book and make pencil marks all over it for all the little mistakes I found. Like some of these is like, that should have been a comma. One of them is like, that should have been plural. There should be an S at the end. But like, no big mistakes, like just a whole bunch of little mistakes. But yes, this is, since it's the proof, it has this band across it because this isn't for resale thing. So I'm waiting on the second proof to come in. And if that's all good, then it'll finally be available in paperback. And I said it not thinking it would happen. That if I make $100 in this live stream, I'll read part of one of the chapters, one of my favorite chapters. And you'll get to meet Brody, who I was asking everyone how to spell his name. I settled on Broddy, based on what the letter hack suggested it being short for Broderick, which makes a lot of sense. And then you have the ODD, which is odd, like broad, broadie. So I think that works well. So I'll read part of a chapter from it if I make that much, but I'm actually not really thinking it will. But hey, if I do, I will follow through on that. Let's see what people in the Sandbox are saying. I'm just so excited about the book. But yeah, tomorrow I'm going to be working on the recap video of the Ontario election because I'm going to be making that into a video. I'm not going to be putting that into a live stream because I want to make sure I have all my thoughts. Communicated, that's not the word. All my thoughts aired out properly. I think that's how I wanted to say that. And then once that video is done, then it's back to work on the TYT video because I've been getting a lot more material for that. Unfortunately. Still love, though, the video of Jank talking with Dr. Phil for the address, I think it was, from Donald Trump. I don't care. I don't care what it was for. It was just hilarious when Dr. Phil said, "This is Jank from YTY." Jank didn't correct him either. I don't know if you can hear that. I have a cat toy. You know that thing where there's a ball and the round thing that they can... Hopefully it's not too distracting. Let me know if you can hear it. And I'll yell at my cat to stop playing and enjoying himself. Let's see what people are saying in the Sandbox. Oh, Timur from the 5 is in here. Hello. At least I think he is because somebody's saying hi to him. But I haven't actually seen his name. Nope, this is like watching Ron DeSantis try to be normal, talking about that other conservative talking. It is pretty loud, that toy. I was like, after I got it, I'm like, that was probably a mistake getting that toy for them. Philip Blair, I have some Scandinavian ancestral on both my grandmother's sides, but I've never been anywhere outside the US and Canada. I've never really traveled much outside. When I was a kid, there was a family trip to the Dominican Republic. Other than that, I've just been to the United States a handful of times. Yeah. Bad Lefty, not going to lie, I already booed it, talking about the national anthems. I'm a fan of not even bothering with the national anthems for sports events, because why? Like, really, why? Because it's not like the teams are even made exclusively of the people that the national anthem is for. Like, there's a lot of crossover on all sports teams, and it's a lot of forced patriotism, performative patriotism, I guess. Let's see. I hope you guys aren't hearing how noisy my cats are being right now. Bad Lefty, maybe it's because Irish nationalism is normally very left-wing, but you can't be too nationalistic here until it becomes racist, except versus Brits and Irish Americans. Let's see. '56 Nick Rich. Doug Ford is just another political hack. At least he's hacking the... Oh, maggots. Okay, I get it. It's mega, but like... Maggot. Now I can't say the word that I'm trying to say. But I think you guys... The maggots? Maggots, yeah, maggots. That is how you actually say it, right? It's not even that late into the live stream, and already I'm suffering. Also, don't forget to go check out the interview I had with Tim from the New Evangelicals. You can find it on my YouTube page under the live streams. Did that last Tuesday morning. I wish I did a better job. I don't feel like I did a great job in that interview. Because it's one of those things. I knew I wanted to talk to him about that subject, but I didn't really think I had a good foundation of questioning and stuff. But still, I found it to be like a super interesting conversation. Let's see. So Life, what's crazy is how they say the U.S. shouldn't do foreign aid, as if it would do it for us if they weren't doing it for them. Yes. Also, a lot of the foreign aid is needed because of what the Americans have done, or America state has done. Grand Theft Autobot, Trump, USMCA, the bigliest, most equal trade agreement ever, until it isn't. And MIDI Doctors was watching Ace of Wands. Okay. I finished watching all of What We Do in the Shadows, the Canadian version of it. I have mixed feelings about it. Let's see. Super Strike 9 says Sandy 100%, so I'm assuming just everything. Everything. Grand Theft Autobot plus Elon Musk is a Nazi. Don't do business with a Nazi. Absolutely do not do business with a Nazi. Philip Blair, people keep talking about sports scholarships, but they forget that we have Ron DeSantis because on a baseball scholarships, he went to Yale. Oh, that's unfortunate. So much for merits. Anti-K's Tarot, if you're patriotic in Canada or USA, you're a racist upholding settler colonialism. I really lost what I had, the pride I had in this country. I lost when I learned more about what residential schools were. It's hard to have pride in a country that is responsible for that. Grand Theft Autobot said, I finally watched Renville last night. Loved it. I actually like that one. I really like that one. Philip Blair, what do Canadians do in the shadows? Eat poutine! Okay, why don't we just get back into it? Still a fair bit to cover. I wasn't hoping for this to be like a super long live stream. I always say that, of course, but you know how it goes. Let's see what was next up on my docket. Actually, I don't know if I want that one. Apparently, Justin Trudeau and Donald Trump had a fight on the phone. Don't think I need to cover that, really, because there's not much there other than somebody clipping something that... I don't know the source, but let's go to here. So NDP leader, just a little while ago, doubles down to force a spring election. Yeah, from CTV News, NDP leader doubles down on pledge to force election. So this was from January 30th. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh vowed Thursday to force a spring election at the end of March when Parliament is scheduled to return. But even as he doubled down on his pledge to help topple the Liberal government, Singh called on that government to recall Parliament early to work on legislation to prepare for a possible tariff war with the United States. So, come back to Parliament so that I can topple your government. It's not good incentive. You should come back to work on this so we can topple the government. We will be voting against the government at the end of March, Singh said at a press conference in Sault Ste. Marie. He repeated that line several times when pressed by journalists on a tight timeline. But then he said this. Am I at the right timestamp that I want? I think so. No, let's go back.
Ce qu'elle a fait, c'est la mauvaise chose à faire parce que ça heurte les travailleurs et les travailleurs. On a besoin à ce moment ensemble, on peut et on va réussir.
That's not exactly where I wanted, but I think we get to it now.
Hi there.
Hi, David Thurton from CBC News. So am I understanding you correctly? A confidence vote is completely off the table until you get some sort of support for workers through.
Yeah, so I'll put it this way, to be very clear. We believe at this time, with the urgency of what we're up against, the seriousness of the impact on our economy, on workers, the threat to workers' jobs, the increase in cost of living.
Workers, workers, workers. Again, people who aren't workers in this country aren't worthy of anything, you know, good standard quality of life. We don't need to be looked out for. Nope, just the workers, just the workers.
That we want to see protections in place first and an election second. We're going to have an election this year. We're ready for that. But we want to see supports for workers done first. For us, this is a matter of putting workers first, and election can come second. And so, yeah, absolutely, we are ready to see supports passed in the House, put in place, working to support people who are hurt right now, and then we'll go to an election.
So now Jagmeet is saying, well, come back to Parliament, we'll take care of the workers first, and then we'll call for that vote of no confidence, which, you know, if the Liberals didn't want that vote of no confidence, then that's incentive for them to not pass that legislation to protect the workers. Jagmeet is so bad at the political game. He's just so bad at it. Like, there's no incentives there. Like, because even if you go back here, you know, you should be coming back to Parliament so that we can work on this tariff threat issue. But as soon as you do, we're going to call for that vote of no confidence, which doesn't give much incentive there. But now it's like, oh, well, now we'll pass it, the stuff to protect the workers. And then right after that, we're going to call for the vote of no confidence. So come back to the House and do that. Which again, let's say hypothetically the Liberals didn't want to have that vote of no confidence, then that's incentive for them to not pass that legislation and drag it out as long as possible. But Jagmeet can say this now because it's a moot point, because, you know, we have the new leader and, you know, according to Global News, Liberal leader may call an election within weeks. Former Deputy MP Sheila Kopp said the new Liberal leader will likely call an election in the next 2 weeks. Former Deputy Prime Minister Sheila. So basically, what Jagmeet is saying has zero effect on when this election is going to be called, on what's going to be passed ahead of time, because the Liberals are in the lead with this. They're not going to go back until they're ready to have the election because they know that's happening. And then they'll just call it. They're not going to wait for that vote of no confidence. They're just going to call it. Yeah. But, let's see. Did I want to get into the new Liberal leadership thing now, or let's finish up what I had, because I do have that at the end. So then Trudeau to meet with King of Charles as Buckingham Palace remains mum on Trump annexation threat. So as Buckingham Palace remains quiet on U.S. President Donald Trump's persistent, I thought that said president again, attack on Canadian sovereignty, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is set to have an audience with King Charles III on Monday, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. When asked by CTV News about the ramped-up rhetoric, King Charles refused to weigh in. I hope this email finds you well, wrote a Buckingham Palace royal communication official in an email to CTV News. This is not something we would comment on. Fuck the monarchy. Like, just let's just break time. Like, what use is the monarchy right now? Like, there's a whole lot of issues if Trump actually does decide to be a little bit more forceful with what's he doing with Canada. What's the monarchy going to say? Like, there's... We don't need it. We don't want it. Let's cut our ties with the monarchy. Let's just get it gone. Get it gone. Don't need it. Don't want it. But I'm also severely confused as to how this happened. Because here you have a tweet from Anthony Horsefarter. Canada's head of state must be able to clearly say what we are independent country and say. So this is in this article. Trudeau to meet with King Charles as Buckingham Palace, blah, blah, blah. This tweet is in this article. Oh, not something we would comment. Go there and then, oh, okay. Well, let's click on the article. Trudeau to meet with King Charles. What? So they have a tweet referencing the article that is in the article. You can't tell, but I'm switching back and forth between the same article. There, let's do that. That's like a weird, huh? It's a weird feedback loop. I'm sorry. It's like a non-thing. I just wanted to say that I don't give a fuck about what the king says and we need to break the ties with the monarchy. I just thought that was very bizarre that they have a tweet referencing the article that's actually in the article that's being referenced. I don't know how that works. It kind of hurts my brain. But yeah, no, just down with monarchy. Let's get rid of it. Don't want it, don't need it. Let's see. Did I want to get into that? No. There's a lot of fear-mongering going on right now about being like military buildups and things of that sort. That it's going to be a lot more forceful with the way that Donald Trump is planning to annex Canada. And I still don't see that happening. Like, I think economically he's going to try for sure, but to have like boots on the ground, to have like a military force build up to try to take back or to take over part of Canada, to annex part of Canada, I don't see that as happening. Like, there's the whole NATO issue. Like, if the United States were to try to annex part of another NATO country, that's basically triggering World War III. But also Americans would not be supportive of that on the whole, because again, there's so many financial ties and family ties, friend ties, like so many connections back and forth between Canada and the United States that I don't think Americans would even tolerate it. It's very, like, it's one of those things, I have enough of an overactive imagination. I don't need that on my plate as well. And it used to be a day where you could easily say, it's never going to happen. And those days where the most outlandish scenario possible will never happen are slowly fading away, which is very nerve-wracking. But I just had a few more things I think I wanted to cover with kind of like federal stuff. So, yeah. Canada, Mexico, China are not the only countries that the United States is effing over right now. It's also what's happening with Ukraine and what Donald Trump has decided to do with their now no more support of Ukraine. Again, Justin Trudeau said something right on this issue. Let's go to that. So, again, one of his addresses on the way out of office is to say, I stand with Volodymyr Zelensky, and I don't need to read the quote because it's in the video.
You clearly admire President Zelensky, so I'm wondering what you thought when you saw the treatment that he received in the Oval Office on Friday.
I think...
So that was super quiet. The reporter was asking about that incident of how Zelensky was treated while at the Oval Office. The whole, you're not wearing a business suit thing.
First of all, it's important every chance we get to lay out the facts as clearly as possible. In 2014, Russia chose to invade Ukraine, to occupy Crimea and parts of eastern Ukraine. For that, they were kicked out of the G7. And in 2022, they chose to violate the existing ceasefire and invaded Ukraine with the intention of taking Kyiv in 3 days and the entire country in 3 weeks. That has failed. Russia continues to try to fight to claim more land in Ukraine. And we could see an end to this war tomorrow if Russia decided to stop its illegal invasion of Ukraine. On Friday in the Oval Office, President Zelensky pointed out, in so many words, that Vladimir Putin is a liar and a criminal and cannot be trusted to keep his word in any way, shape, or form, because he has demonstrated time and time again that he will break any agreements. I stand with Vladimir Zelensky, and I stand with the people of Ukraine.
So, Vladimir Putin can't be trusted, breaks promises and stuff. Sounds like another global leader that is also seizing land right now that Justin Trudeau seems to be on the very opposite side of. So it's just, they're on the right side when it comes to Russia, Ukraine. But when it comes to Israel and Palestinians, wow. Because this is a parting, again, one of his last little press conferences before he's no longer prime minister, which is apparently as of now. This is what he said. This is, how can you understand what Russia is doing is wrong and say all these things about Putin and then be the total polar opposite when it comes to Netanyahu in Gaza? It's just, this is a horrid thing to leave office on, but I can't say I'm surprised. Talking about, so this is from CPAC, and Trudeau speaks at National Forum Combating Anti-Semitism, and this was on March 6th.
Hamas's brutal, barbaric terrorist attack of October 7th. Holocaust denialism is on the rise. Violent extremism is on the rise. What you are experiencing is not normal. Anti-Semites singing the praises of Hamas and Hezbollah while waving their flags in the streets of our cities is not normal. Jewish students being shouted down in their classrooms and campuses for simply expressing their identity, their opinions, their beliefs is not normal.
It also is not happening. The protesters at the universities, they were the ones being attacked and shouted at and harassed because they're protesting a genocide. Like, at least, I don't know where Mark Carney is on this. I'm pretty sure it's not great side, but at least we won't have to hear this a-hole's doublespeak when it comes to what's happening there, because so often just painting people who are protesting the genocide as some sort of terrorist organization that is harassing and doing all these horrible things. And meanwhile, the Zionist organizations here are doing just that. Like, I covered not too long ago a journalist that got arrested here in Canada simply for covering some of these Zionists. And the police accused him of harassing the police because he was like reporting on what they were doing. Just absolute bullshit. But the way he ends this, like, yeah, can't say I'm surprised.
Synagogues and Jewish day schools being attacked and firebombed by cowards in the night is not normal. The increasingly common, deafening indifference toward or even rationalization of rising anti-Semitism is not normal.
And just be clear, because apparently we always have to say this, I'm against anti-Semitism. Like, Anti-Semitism is bad. Okay? It's bad. But for some reason, because you're against a genocide, you have to also stipulate that is also really weird in this day and age to me.
The term Zionist increasingly being tossed around as a pejorative, in spite of the fact that it simply means believing in the right of Jewish people, like all people, to determine their own future, is not normal. No one in Canada should ever be afraid to call themselves a Zionist. I am a Zionist.
You know, there's that commercial that's getting redone. That's everyone's I am Canadian commercial that's making the rounds right now. And here's Justin Trudeau. I am a Zionist. Remember that other politician that was just so upset about Mark Carney being a European, but being a Zionist? That's super okay. That is quite the quote from him leaving office, saying that I am a Zionist. He's also said before, Zionism isn't a dirty word. Yes, it is. It's an ideology. It is a choice to make that belief. Like, it's not something, it's not an immutable characteristic you're born with. It's a choice. And what is happening right now? Israel cuts off electricity supply to Gaza, affecting a desalination plant producing drinking water. Israel cut off the electricity supply to Gaza, officials said Sunday, affecting desalination plant producing drinking water for part of the arid territory. Hamas called it part of Israel's starvation policy. Last week, suspended supplies of goods to the territory of more than 2 million Palestinians, an echo of the siege that imposed in the earliest days of the war. Israel is pressing the militant group to accept an extension of the first phase of their ceasefire. That phase ended last weekend. Israel wants Hamas to release half of the remaining hostages, blah, blah, blah. They always say that. Israel is responsible for more deaths of those hostages than Hamas is. And, doing things like cutting off the electricity. Like when you do that and it affects everyone there's a term for it that, because it's like a collective thing, it's like everyone in that area gets affected, including all the innocent people, not part of there's a term for it. And it's also a war crime when you do that sort of collective punishment. But Justin Trudeau sees no problem with this. He is a Zionist. Israel has the right to defend itself over and over and over again. Absolutely disgusting. That they can still, with all the evidence, all the footage, all what we know about what has happened to the people in Gaza, to still try to claim that Zionism is on the right of this issue. Don't think I want to go over this. It's just another parting video from Justin Trudeau about Pierre Poilievre not getting his security clearance. Yeah, we don't need to go over that. I've covered that issue plenty of times. So let's see. I did have a live feed going on about the Liberal leadership race thing. Let's see if there's an interesting place to break into this. Let's see. Oh, I'm not going to click the volume right now. Jean Chrétien is talking, and I don't want to hear what he has to say. Let's back up a bit. Let's see. Yeah, definitely don't want to have to hear what Jean Chrétien has to say. Justin Trudeau is speaking. Where's the? I wonder where the announcement is. Just want to hear the announcement of who the leader is.
That Mark Carney, as the program formally gets underway here, and we will be with you throughout that program and into, of course, the formal announcement of the leader this evening. Anne McGrath is sitting to my right. Anne, this is the massive crisis that we fight, or that
Like
we
a
face,
beauty
rather,
pageant type thing.
For election before.
right into the fire.
Live and electric, and
Let's see. I just want to get to the announcement. Oh, no, music.
Of all Canadians.
I think we heard
are a
enough of
country.
Justin Trudeau speak tonight.
Day after day.
aside.
And here's Mr. Chrétien.
Nope, not going to listen to him.
And infrastructure that are needed. Essay to come back. And we found.
When did they announce it?
Being a politician a little bit. And in terms of second place, yeah, I think so. I mean, Karina Gould certainly, in the eyes of many here, and I'm sure a lot of her supporters, is sort of the future of the party. So I think people are excited about her candidacy and just her playing a role within the party for years to come. And
In particular, outgoing Prime Minister Trudeau here, as well as Jean Chrétien. Equal weighting per riding. I'm going to keep one ear tuned to
Submission.
Sorry, I wish I knew where the actual announcement was. Because I am actually kind of curious as to how Karina Gould did. I was expecting Mark Carney to win.
And this convention is, kind of gathering all that emotional energy. And the hard work begins tomorrow, because I think it will be probably Mark Carney. And he's going to...
In second place, Chrystia Freeland with 11,000.
Okay, so
on the
here's the
front
announcement.
bench. I don't think as hard with the other candidates, but it might be difficult with her.
Yeah, I think if you want to make a clean break from Justin Trudeau, having her in cabinet in a prominent role becomes very problematic. And I would question, if she's not in a prominent role, does she even run again for the party, right? Does she just say, you know what, I've done enough, let's move on? So it'll be interesting to see how Mark Carney handles the...
I think the announcement read by the individual.
So Beatrice Keller-Dufour, integrity of the process. Beatrice, over to you.
Okay, here's the moment.
Thank you. A reminder that the winner must receive more than 50% of the points allocated in a ballot to win. The following are the results of the first ballot with 151,899 votes cast. In fourth place, Frank Baylis with 4,003% of the vote. 4,785 votes, resulting in 1,100 allocated points, representing 3.2% of the vote. In second place, Chrystia Freeland with 11,134 votes, resulting in 2,729 allocated points, representing 8% of the vote. In first place, the next Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, with 131,674 votes, resulting in 29,457 allocated points, representing 85.9% of the vote.
Okay, I'm not surprised he won, but that is one hell of a margin to win by. 85% of the vote. Wow. So our now Prime Minister is somebody who doesn't have an elected seat. Yay! Parliamentary system. So what this means is he will be running as an MP in the next election. So hopefully he would win that riding. If not, he might have to step down. Like, it would make sense that if he can't win his own riding, that he would have to step down. But then again, Bonnie Crombie is leader of the Liberal Party of Ontario, didn't win her riding, is still hanging on to that leadership spot. which means that they're going to force an Ontario Liberal in a safe riding to step down from their spot so that Bonnie can then run in that in the very near future. So if Mark Carney doesn't win his riding, if they want to keep him on as the leader, then there would be a by-election for some reason, usually family issue, in a very safe Liberal riding where he would then run. So yeah, we now have, wait for it, another white male as Prime Minister of Canada. Ooh, couldn't see that one coming. Hey, stop the music.
To his core, a man.
Wow.
So a reminder that Mark Carney said in his speech when he was first declaring that the Liberal Party had moved way too far to the left, gotta move it more centrist. A lot of, again, do I hope he beats Pierre Poilievre? I hope anyone beats Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre would be an absolute disaster for this country. Mark Carney isn't going to be great. He might be able to stand up to Donald Trump, but I'm pretty sure Karina Gould could have as well. Because she was the only one kind of addressing certain concerns about, again, that the party is not listening to the base. She was offering a more progressive view of the Liberal Party, all that sort of stuff. I would have really liked to see her get in as leader, and I probably would have even voted Liberal over NDP in that case. But as is, it's still going to be come the next federal election where I just endorse ABC voting, where it's anyone but conservative. Let's
Just want to get this on the table. Bob goes to my church. Actually, I go to Bob's church because he goes there a lot more frequently than I do. Anyways, point is, Bob wrote to the 4 candidates, and he said, I quote, "Right now,
I don't care about this part.
Trading relationships with reliable trading partners and to secure our borders." What, Claire?
Now, to be clear here, this will never.
If he succeeds, will weaken our economy.
Okay, he's
It's
talking
Pierre
about Trump
Poilievre.
here. Or no, Pierre. Okay.
In hockey, Canada will win.
Now, to Americans,
man,
victory, the great, and to get that would have never us to unite country.
Donald Trump is trying to weaken our economy. But there's someone else who, if he succeeds, will weaken our economy. It's Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre just doesn't get it. He is the type of lifelong politician, and I've seen this type around the world, a lifelong politician who worships at the altar of the free market despite never having made a payroll himself.
And here we have somebody who's never been a politician, now Prime Minister of the country.
And now, in the face of President Trump's threats, Pierre Poilievre still refuses to get his security clearance. At a time when our national security is under threat as has never been before. At a time of immense economic insecurity, he would undermine the Bank of Canada. Monsieur Poilievre
has called for the shutting down of CBC.
And then speaking French and stuff. Okay. I don't think we need to get too much into, but this is what I want right now. This is what I would like to see. This is for Bernie Sanders.
Thank you.
all these centrist politicians that just keep on saying we've moved too far left, too far left, too far left. This is the crowd, the energy you get when you actually start supporting more progressive values. And you can see a similar dynamic when you see the crowds around Claudia Sheinbaum and just how happy and energetic they are. And like they just keep on wanting to pass this myth that going too far left is a detriment to their chances. Whereas it's like, that's how you win. That is how you would win. But we don't have any party here with a leader that's willing to be boldly progressive on their ideas. They would win. They would win if somebody were to do that. Super frustrating. Okay, let's check the Sandbox. And then that's it for the federal news, I think. I think. Well, tariffs. What did I have next on the docket? So a couple stories. Oh, the measles. A follow-up to a story that I've been covering about the search for some missing Indigenous women. The sad outcome was predictable, but, you know, at least the landfill was finally searched. So an update on that. And yeah, just the measles outbreak you're not hearing about here in Canada. But before we do that, let's check the Sandbox. I want to make sure I didn't miss any super chats. Oh, Philip Blair. Well, thank you so much for the $5. Nelson Mandela debunked Trudeau's Zionism. So did the Dalai Lama, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and post-Pres Jimmy Carter. Zionism is anti-Jewish bigotry. Thank you so much for the $5. Really appreciate it. Okay. But yeah, Zionism is a detriment to Jewish people all around the world. It's, yeah. So, yeah, Carney is now the new Prime Minister of Canada with 85% of the votes that they had. That's definitely a win. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Super Strike 9. Hey, Justin, does Israel have a right to commit genocide? All in the name of protecting itself, apparently, according to Justin Trudeau. $56 Nick Rich. PP is a national security threat. Absolutely, yes. He is. Just the whole idea that he hasn't gotten his security clearance yet is... that should be disqualifying. Absolutely disqualifying. Hello, Christy Zed. Hello, Morbius Dragon. Although you're already not in the Sandbox, now I'm saying hello. Have a good sleep. Let's see. People are saying hi to a George Waters. Oh, there. George Waters just mentioning that the announcement is 10 minutes after Crouchy on Live stage. Well, welcome to the Sandbox. Not sure I've seen your name before. It's one of those things, it's just, I knew the outcome was going to be Mark Carney. I was really hoping that there'd be a little bit more diversity in that vote. And it would have been nice to see Karina Gould do a lot better than that. But let's face it, like a lot of it has to do with sexism, misogyny. They want a strong man to deal with Donald Trump and the tariff threat right now. Because it's not like Claudia Sheinbaum, you know, doesn't prove that theory wrong. But I don't think he's going to help Canada at all. Just a lot of austerity, a lot of cutting of social programs while giving corporations more money, all that sort of stuff. Saying we moved too far to the left. Super Strike 9, Bonnie needs to step down in Ontario. Absolutely she does, yes. I still love how the Liberal Party in Ontario is now saying that the NDPs should cross the aisle to Liberal because the Liberal deserves those seats. So they want people to just switch the party as opposed to going after the real issue being first past the post. Because the NDP got far, far fewer votes than the Liberal Party, but got way more seats than the Liberal Party. I'll be covering that in my video recap of the election. Let's see. Oh, hello, Looney Tunes 9000. I don't know who this Vincent is, but it's one of the main characters in my book. My book is named Vincent. This is the proof of my book for people who are showing up late. I found a few mistakes. Just a few. When I read through it on Friday and Saturday. Just a few mistakes. Just a few. So it's not ready for paperback yet. The second proof should be in shortly. Also, the cover printed too dark, so hopefully that got fixed. But yeah, it's a good solid book. It's a book. So as soon as this is like ready, I'll be letting people know. But yeah, it has this band here because it's not for resale purposes, because this is just the proof. And I just found a couple mistakes. And as I was saying, if I make $100 in this live stream, I'll read part of the chapter where you find out how Brody is a character in my book. The name that I had to ask everyone how to spell. Hey, Abernathy. What? Come on. Are you going to come up? Are you going to come up? Come on. You're teasing everyone here. He's just teasing people right now. 56 Nick Rich. If you're not an MP, you can't be leader of the country. Technically speaking, yeah, you can. So again, it's the Prime Minister isn't the leader per se. They are the top figurehead because they have the same power as the rest of the MPs. They get one vote, that sort of thing. But they are kind of the representative of the party. But what this means is when they do get back to Parliament is Mark Carney doesn't get to sit with all the other MPs because he's not an MP, which means he can't speak on the House floor. So if Pierre Poilievre says anything, he can't challenge it in that time. He can't present any legislation. He can't have any of his speeches or anything on the House floor. So basically he can sit in the gallery and watch and then afterwards go to a scrum and talk. And that's what Jagmeet Singh had to do when he became leader of the NDP, because he also was not elected to a seat at that point. And then, yeah, a by-election just happened to happen in a safe riding in BC for the NDP, where he then ran. And so Jagmeet Singh was the leader of the NDP for a bit before he was an MP. So yes, he is Prime Minister, but he has no power to do anything really. But they are basically just the figurehead of the party. They don't get to make like unilateral decisions. It's not like they're a president, and they can just sign an executive order. The closest thing to an executive order is a notwithstanding clause. But even with a notwithstanding clause, you still have to have that voted on. But if you're the party in power, then of course it's going to go through. Let's see. Philip Blair, did Mark Carney give an example of a policy that was too far left? I don't know. I think he just said that the party had gone too far left, and it was probably things around the pharmacare and dental care that was pushed through was a little bit too socialist for his liking. And those were not universal. So the dental care was only for people of a certain age. It's definitely means tested. And the pharmacare was for birth control and diabetes medication. And that's it. Which might have been just way too far left for someone like Mark Carney. Ugh. Let's see. Anyway, why don't we get back into the news that I have for today? Warning, the next story is pretty heavy. And it's a story that I've been covering on my channel for quite some time. And this is the closure a family needed and was deserving of a long time ago. So again, just warning, this is a very heavy story. So there was a serial killer who targeted Indigenous women, and he was captured. And he revealed that he disposed of some of the bodies in the dump, in a landfill. And the municipal and provincial government at the time was absolute refusing to search landfills, giving one excuse after another: too much money, it's too dangerous, even though examples of landfills being searched before for bodies has happened and has been successful. It was just, they just didn't want to because they were Indigenous women. And it became a whole thing during the election, during the provincial election. Conservatives were like literally campaigning on the fact that they would not search the landfills. And there was a blockade at one of the landfills because they knew the bodies were there. It was just a matter of finding them. And so Wab Kinew got elected in, and he's the first Indigenous premier. And he had made a promise in his campaign to help funding to search the landfills, and he has followed through on that promise. I was a little worried at the beginning because it seemed to be taking a really long time to get to it, but it has happened, and they have found one of the missing women. So again, heavy story that we're about to get into. This is from APTN News. The families were right, says Manitoba Premier, after landfill search remains identified. After just 3 months of searching a Winnipeg area landfill for the remains of 2 First Nation women, one family is bringing their loved one home. On Friday night, the Manitoba government announced RCMP confirmed the human remains located in the Prairie Green landfill on February 26 are those of Morgan Beatrice Harris of Lawn Plain First Nation. Speaking to the media Saturday, Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew said the timeline showed how right the families were to demand and advocate for a search. Kinew said the success so far also speaks to the professionalism of the team behind the search. When we think about those first conversations we had with the public here in Manitoba, we were expecting to potentially be searching this entire year of 2025. And even then, I was always careful to say we don't know if we're going to succeed, but we're going to try, Kinew said at a news conference. Here we are a few months into the year, and we have been able to deliver the next stage of healing for the family to move forward. He added, I really, really hope that that's some encouragement and hope for other family we want to help out there. Here, too, for the Myron family. The province announced a second set of remains had also been recovered from the landfill just north of Winnipeg and have been sent for DNA testing, because there's always the possibility that there's more bodies in the landfill than just the two that they were looking for. The remains could belong to Miss Mercedes Myron, the second of 4 victims of serial killer who murdered the women in the spring of 2022. He was convicted of 4 counts of first-degree murder last summer. Meanwhile, the Winnipeg Police Service, which said the landfill search was not feasible as part of its case against the killer, will swear in a new police chief Monday. Good. In a statement, APTN News, incoming Chief Jean Bauer said the thoughts go out to the families of Morgan Beatrice Harris, Mercedes Love Myron, Rebecca Stacy Contos, and Mashko. I'm not entirely sure how to say that. I'm sorry. Or Buffalo Woman, the MMIWG2S Plus community, and all families who are awaiting word on their missing loved ones. Bauer said that he has a big goal related to the case and the service's relationship with the Indigenous peoples. I intend to action my vision of the Winnipeg Police Service to become leaders in reconciliation, he said. Sorry, I don't mean to give the little with that. It's just these type of promises I have no faith in until I actually see them play out. Like, even when it came to searching the landfill, I had no faith in that promise until it actually played out. He said, noting he hopes to meet with the families of the victims developing his vision. Kinew acknowledged the late Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, Grand Chief Kathy Merrick, and new AMC Grand Chief Kyra Wilson for the leadership and advocacy on behalf of the families. AMC, that's the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, acknowledged the identification results in a statement Friday. It is with heavy hearts we acknowledge the confirmation that the remains of Morgan Beatrice Harris Long of Long Plain First Nations have been recovered at Prairie Green Landfill. Our thoughts and prayers are with her family, loved ones, and a nation as they face this unimaginable loss. This search has always been about love, the statement added, honoring Morgan, Mercedes, Buffalo Woman, Rebecca, and all families still waiting for their loved ones to be brought home. No family should have to search this way, yet their loved ones stood firm in truth and refused to be silenced. It is through their love and determination that Morgan has been found. Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Gary also recognized the search results. Morgan Harris has been found. Our hearts with her family, loved ones, and Long Plain First Nation. No family should have to endure this pain, he said on social media. We owe it to Mercedes, Buffalo Woman, and the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, Two-Spirit and gender diverse people to keep searching. Ending this national crisis demands action, and we must work together to make it happen. I'm now going to show a video of the daughter of Morgan. It's heavy. Just putting it out there. It's a difficult watch. So just be warned with that. But it's important to hear. Let me get this on. There we go. So this is Elle Harris, daughter of Morgan Harris, speaks to reporters about her mom and how she's feeling following the announcement of remains discovered at the Prairie Green landfill.
I didn't see myself making it too far in life after I found out about my mom, because I just turned 18. I just became an adult without my mother. And yesterday, all I could think about was I want my mom. No one should go through any type of heartbreak without their mom. Yesterday, when I left the landfill, I felt like I was abandoning her again. I felt like I was leaving her. No family, no person should go through what we went through. And again, to every one of you that said no, to every one of you that didn't believe in us, do better. Do better. How could you? How can you say no to somebody's little girl? That's my mom in there. That's family in there. And it's absolutely disgusting to hear anybody talk about my mother like that. And I'm very proud of how far I've made it without her. That I've graduated and that I'm living on my own and I'm doing a lot better than where I was 2 years ago. And I'm on my journey of healing. But every day I just think I want my mom. I want her to be there for me. Because it's so hard. It's really hard going out there. It's hard watching even simple movies. Because you see all these movies with loving families and having that parent system next to you to be there for you. It's heartbreaking to know I'm never going to be able to get that. And I want you all to think of that for every one of single of you who said no to the police system, to the government. You sit there and think about this. Think about how disgustingly you treated us. And think of how far we made it, even though you said no. Look where we made it. Look where we are now, and we're not done. Not at all.
Absolutely horrific that they had to go through that. The amount of hatred that was targeted towards them, the harassment they received, the names her mother was called, just like the provinces and cities' unwillingness to do the decency of searching the landfill when they knew the bodies were there. And to make it a campaign issue to not search. Absolutely horrific that they had to go through this when there's already so much tragedy and loss in that whole situation. Just what the politicians and some of the general public did on top of it was just incomprehensibly evil. What they did. Yeah, nobody should have to go through this at all. It's just horrific. And I hope the other families can find their closure soon too. Because this story is just, it's Canada missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. It's an ongoing issue. It's been an issue forever. These types of stories shouldn't exist. And Lance from the source was just pointing out, conservatives didn't just deny she would be found, but actually made it a core part of their campaign to say it was a waste of money. Indigenous women and survivors are not lying. Every time another body is found, the goalpost gets moved for the denialists. And he was just quote tweeting somebody that Dennis Ward, who is a journalist for APTN News, just saying that the search has found Morgan's remains. Just, yeah, horrific story. Okay, check the Sandbox, and then 2 more stories to get to, and then we'll wrap things up. So Life, if it was CEO, they would have done through that trash years ago. Yeah. If it was a white woman, they would have gone through it. Let's see. So Life, did anyone else notice the Maple MAGA on screen? Yeah. It pops up from time to time on Twitter under trending. Bad Lefty, may her enemies feel it. Jakara, morally bankrupt humans. Bad Lefty just saying heartbreaking shit. Yeah. Okay. Jakara saying highly recommend folks watch the Oscar-nominated Sugarcane documentary about residential schools in so-called Canada. I am planning on watching that, but I have to be in a safe mind headspace when I do that, because I know it'll be heavy. Bad Lefty, I have an uncle who went through an industrial school, evil Shiite. Yeah. Okay, so on to the next story. Been hearing a lot about measles in the United States and Texas. There was an outbreak. A child has died from that outbreak. And I think a lot of people, again, we just get so distracted by the United States, we don't tend to look in-house. Because I've covered it on my channel before, but vaccination rates have been dropping like by about 84% since COVID. Because all this anti-vax hysteria translates to other viruses that people have been getting vaccines for ages. Now suddenly they're suspect. And so people have stopped taking vaccines that have always been par for the course. And now suddenly we're getting outbreaks of measles here in Canada too. Because of course, the United States says this is a horrible thing and look at the results. And Canada's like, yeah, so we can do that. We should do that too. We should just be as horrible. So this is happening in and around Toronto.
An infected person. If you suspect you have... Ontario says 78 new measles cases have been identified over the last 2 weeks, bringing the total number of cases to over 140. The outbreak is renewing concerns about vaccination rates and the risk of community spread.
Measles is a highly contagious virus that spreads through the air when an infected person coughs or sneezes. Symptoms include fever, cough, runny nose, and a red rash.
The problem is a fever and a rash isn't super concerning, but what can manifest afterwards, like the secondary bacterial infections, things like pneumonia, ear infections, and severe encephalitis, sort of a brain infection. That's where we really see a lot of the severe disease that needs hospitalization and unfortunately can lead to death.
Officials say the last time there was a sizable outbreak in the province was in 2008, when there was a total of 58 cases. Between 2013 to 2023, there's only been roughly 100 cases, and this latest outbreak is well beyond that.
These are outbreaks in Texas and in Ontario that are being fueled almost entirely by people who didn't bother getting vaccinated against measles.
It's not. He's putting all of the ownership on people not getting vaccinated. And it's like, it's not the children's choice in a lot of these instances. It's the parents that are choosing not to get their kids vaccinated. So I don't quite like his phrasing that it's like the sole responsibility of the people who are not getting vaccinated for spreading this, because like I said, a lot of the children, it's at the discretion of their parents. Because we can have vaccine mandates, and we do, that you have to be vaccinated for certain things in schools, but the parents will go into overdrive looking for loopholes or looking for reasons not to, or they don't want to put their child through it and all of that sort of stuff. So you have that group of people, but then you also have the people who can't get the vaccine because of medical issues. So it's not as simple as saying that this is the result of people who haven't gotten vaccinated themselves. That's a lot of the adults, but that's not really on the children or the people who can't get the vaccine. It's on the adults making the horrendous decisions, and it's often their children that pays the price for it.
It is an exceptionally contagious disease that, as we've seen in the outbreak in Texas, has led to a child dying. And it's a disease that is easily preventable.
The epicenter of Ontario's outbreak has been in the southwestern and Grand Erie public health regions.
Yeah, like measles was pretty much wiped out. It was pretty much wiped out. And then suddenly all this anti-vax hysteria started up. And now it's like there's a resurgence of it. Not to mention other viruses and stuff. It's just all this suffering that was so preventable. So preventable because some people got into hysterics believing all this bullshit being shoveled down their throats.
As a result, 18 kids have been hospitalized in Ontario, including one who required intensive care. Both York Region and Toronto Public Health have confirmed one case of measles.
The issue with trying to contain this is it's one of the most infectious viruses. Essentially, if you're in the same room or airspace as someone who's infectious and you're not immune, you have a 90% chance of contracting this infection.
Those most at risk are small children, pregnant women, and those with weakened immune systems. Health officials are urging the public to get vaccinated if you haven't already to prevent the spread.
The vaccine is highly effective. It's highly safe and effective against getting infected if you are exposed. And again, it's that 2-dose that gives you really high levels of protection.
Health officials recommend checking your vaccination records and watch for symptoms if you've been in contact with an infected person. If you suspect you have measles, it is advised to stay home and call your doctor. In Toronto, Catalina Gillies, City News.
That actually got me thinking that I need to check my vaccination record. I don't know if I've been vaccinated for measles because it would have happened when I was a kid. But I do remember I had measles when I was a kid. And I know since my mom has said certain things about vaccines as a little, like she gets some flu vaccines, she got some COVID vaccines. But now I'm like, I should probably make sure that happened at some point in my life. Because I don't want that. I also know that I'm a mutant because I got chickenpox 3 times. So I have to be super wary of shingles. I've tried asking for that vaccine, but they're like, you're too young. I'm like, I don't care. Give it to me. I think I have to be more forceful with the doctor. But part of the problem is I don't think I have a family doctor right now, so I'm not even entirely sure how I would check that. So this is from Raghu, who is an MD. Ontario's experienced a measles outbreak, 127 confirmed and 50 probable cases in 2025. And let's see, January, February, and we're just into March. Huh. In 2025. So that's like not even 3 months. 141 children and 36 adults. 97.9 pediatric cases were unimmunized below the cases. And just seeing the numbers there skyrocket. And also compare to the 177 Ontario measles cases in just, again, 2025. There were just 101 cases for the 10 years from 2013 to 2023. Yeah, this is, I still mask up when I go to the grocery store. Yeah, I still mask up when I go to the grocery store because I'm just getting too paranoid about these sorts of things now. Okay, one last story that I wanted to get into. Mark Carney is saying new threats demand new ideas. Mark Carney addresses Liberal after landslide when he wasn't offering any new ideas. He was basically, let's do the status quo. Anyway, that's not what this article is about. From CP24, analyst calls on Canada military to fix white supremacy problem before it starts. You're a bit late on that. It's already started. It's already a thing. An Alberta-based analyst asked by the military to study white supremacy in its ranks says it doesn't want the problem to take root. It should take action against a culture that gives it room to grow. Political science Andy Knight says that his research suggests current attitudes within the armed forces favor white, male, and Christian cultures and put groups like women, people of color, newcomers, and LGBTQ plus community at a disadvantage. It's a long-standing historical problem that has to do with the military mindset on who should be in the military and how they're going to be treated once they're in, Knight said in an interview. This is the kind of wake-up call for the military. They ought to do something about this problem before it gets out of hand. Again, a little late. We'll get to it. Knight with the University of Alberta is to meet with defense and military officials in Ottawa to discuss the findings and recommendations. They are to work through the report authored after submitting proposals to Department of National Defense to study white supremacy in the military. I didn't really feel a need to go through all of that because I just kind of wanted to say, yeah. So we had the Freedom Convoy here in Canada. And a little bit of good news on that is proposed class action lawsuit against Freedom Convoy organizers clear hurdle. So people who suffered at the hands of the Freedom Convoyers, like going in, blasting truck horns all hours of the night, they're getting into the position where they can actually start suing the people who are partaking in that. But let's just read a little bit of this article. A proposed class action lawsuit against those who allegedly organized and funded the Freedom Convoy protests cleared another hurdle on Thursday when the Ontario Court of Appeal refused to dismiss the case. Also, a lot of conservatives online whining about this, saying, well, then if any protest is any sort of inconvenience, then you should be able to sue and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, there are, what's the word? Gradients is not the word that I want, but it's kind of like it. You know, there's levels of protests and stuff. The truckers were occupying Ottawa. They were preventing people from doing their daily things for almost a month. They were blasting truck horns all hours of day and night, which was causing actual physical damage to people. They were harassing people. They were, like, a lot of their actions were illegal to begin with, but the police just didn't bother to enforce any of the laws, making it into a much bigger province. And then Doug Ford went to his cottage, which, again, he probably should have dealt with one of his cities being under siege, because it was literally under siege. We're not talking about a march down a street that temporarily closed the street. These are not the same things. You know, to claim that now you can sue the people that are shutting down a street temporarily is not the same thing as what the truckers were doing. Not even close. Even what the students were doing on the university campuses, not even close, because they also weren't interfering with the daily lives of students. They were sometimes causing a bit of a ruckus, you know, some noise every now and then. They would go through the halls, but everyone could still take their classes. It was just a piece of green grass or something, and the campus was not available for people to toke on, was really all that it was. You know, they weren't obstructing paths of students to get to their classes or anything of that sort. So some downtown Ottawa residents and businesses are suing for $290 million, alleging personal suffering and business losses from the 2022 protests. The lawsuit has not yet been certified as a class action. The defendants tried to get the case thrown out of court by arguing their protest was in the public interest, but the Court of Appeal upheld the lower court's ruling, allowing the lawsuit to proceed. In the court documents, defendants say the plan to argue following police direction when they parked their trucks in Ottawa's downtown core. The Court of Appeal panel saw no evidence to suggest the police directed the truckers to remain parked on public streets for as long as they did, or to honk their horns with the frequency and intensity that they did. The motion judge understood the political motivation and goals in the convoy protests, and he understood the harm residents and businesses in the protest zone contended that they had suffered. The result of the protest was conducted. Justice Brown wrote on behalf of the panel. Brown said he saw no error in how the lower court weighed the harm residents and businesses against interests and elements of the protest. I think I wanted to go back here then. Right. So, Freedom Convoy. And now, remember that white supremacy in the military. So this proposal for this study for the white supremacy in the military, the proposal came after 2022 report panel retired forces members concluded that not enough was being done to stop white supremacists and other violent extremists from infiltrating the ranks. He said the research became all the more intriguing after it was revealed that some military members were involved in the 2022 Freedom Convoy protests against COVID-19, rules that shut down much of Ottawa for weeks. So again, this problem, it's already on the books. It's already there. It's already there. It's how to weed it out now. It's not about how to stop it. It's about how to weed it out. And one last thing, just a small silver lining, good things in a shitstorm of bad news, and literally this time, like pretty much literally, with Ontario Place, thanks to your 2,250 comments, the Ontario government has withdrawn their request to dump sewage into the West Canal. This is a win for marine and life and habitat and the rowers and other users of the West Channel, and they wanted to dump sewage into the West Canal of the Great Lakes for the spa that Doug Ford is pushing through. For the spa, they wanted to be able to just dump the waste right into the water. So this is saying, no, you can't. For now, anyway. Okay. Back to the main shot. That was all on my docket. I'm done. I'm done. Oh. Ugh. I'm getting hungry. So no talking about food in the Sandbox. So let's see what the Sandbox people are saying. Bad Trouble Lefty, because you say my middle name is Trouble. Well, nope, I had chicken pox twice. Yeah. I know only of one other person who has had it 3 times. Hermatologist, I had it and shingles at 41. Ouch. Yeah. I don't want to wait until I'm old enough for the shingles vaccine, just given my history with chickenpox. I'd much rather just get it now. And yeah, I'm sorry you got shingles, because from the sounds of it, it is pretty bad from Grand Theft Auto. Oh, if I hear shingles is awful, my condolences. Yeah. Jet, I mask up when I go to the store still. Well, as well, I don't care what people think. I need to be safe. I'm still often, there's maybe like 1 or 2 other people that are still masking, but I haven't run into any troubles. Like nobody has harassed me or said anything or given me any side eye as far as I know. I might be just too autistic to even notice anyway, if they did. But I haven't run into any problems still masking when I go into stores and stuff. 56 Nick Rich, fully vaxxed and relaxed. Oh, are you going to come up now, are you? Come on. Stop teasing the audience and get your cute little face up here. Philip Blair, MDMA assisted therapy for PTSD is also highly safe and effective, but that didn't stop Big Pharma's FDA from voting to block legal access. On the 4th of June, 2024, 80 members of Congress spoke out. Not entirely sure what that's all about. Against this blatant corruption at the FDA, they're worried that the MDMA-assisted therapy may hurt SSRI sales. They've approved SSRI on 5 separate occasions with far less data. Hey, stop that. Come up here. Instead of trying to eat everything that you're not supposed to eat, just come up here where people can see you. One of my babies ate a whole bunch of string the other day, and I'm not looking forward to when that comes out. Like, I'm looking forward to when it comes out so it's out of their system, but I'm not looking forward to when it comes out. Stop eating this. Let's see. Hello, FG. And people talking amongst themselves in the sandbox, which is good. Soul Life, LOL. My mom just sent a text. The turbulence on the plane is so bad to us 3 kids. So I said, hope it's not Boeing. There's been 9 crashes in a month too. Now my sister is freaking out. Not a good thing to send somebody on a plane right now. I'm just saying. Christy said that's freaking scary, especially nowadays. Keep us posted. I don't know what that's in reference to. Philip Blair, Doug Ford Spa sounds toxic. Let's see. Yeah, no, Abernathy still decided not to jump on my lap. He looked up like he was going to, but didn't, probably because last time he did, I clipped his nails. 56 Nick Rich, TYT, especially Jink and Anna, is told cop out in favor of MAGA. People talking about TYT again? People trolling the TYT chat? People sending in money to troll TYT from the sounds of it. I actually caught a couple screen grabs of that. That will be in my video. Yeah, so tomorrow my goal is to work on my recap video of the Ontario election. And then once I get that video done, then it's back to focusing primarily on getting my TYT videos done. Like I'll still do some live streams and stuff, but I just really want to get those videos done so I don't have to think about it anymore. So I don't have to watch any more Jank appearances on stuff, because every time he is, I'm like, wow, that is super relevant to the video I'm doing. That makes the video longer too, and then I have to watch that. And it's infuriating. It is like literally hurting my psyche. All the stuff that he keeps on saying over and over again, because he has told this lie now about certain elements on the left. And it is a lie because he knows better. At this point, it's to millions of people from all the different, in particular, right-wing shows he's been on, which is just unconscionable for somebody who claims to be a progressive or on the left, because he's not. He's not. But yeah, so I really want to get those videos done. And the plan is now, because I know it can't be one video. It's going to be way too long for one video. So I'll probably, hopefully, just be able to split into 2 and not 3. But then what I'll do is I'll premiere the video, but then I'll do a live stream right after that where it's a talk back about that video. And hopefully I can get somebody on with me to talk about it. I think would be good. And then this book will be available for sale very soon. It's that book. This book. This is the proof. It's not the actual paperback, but it is the proof. And I found a few mistakes in it. All these tags are mistakes. But when I go on my walks, this is all I'm thinking about, because I have some stories in my head that lead up to this book. And then this book can be serialized from picking up from where it left off. So I did have to make some changes to the original manuscript. Hermatologist, if you're still in the chat, there's a lot of changes in this book. Not a lot, like nothing in the plot fundamentally changes. And I only point you out because I know you've read it and I super appreciate it. Not a lot of changes, but some subtle changes, a lot of subtle changes, but nothing that would affect the outcome of the plot. But I made these changes to help with the backstories and then the future progression of the stories. Should I choose to do all of that writing? But that's where my brain is when I go on my walks, is just living in the stories of these characters and stuff. But, you know, Hermatologist, since I know you've read it, you can shoot me an email. I'll just tell you all of the changes. So you don't have to reread it. Or you can buy the paperback when it's available. But you guys, let me know what you think an appropriate price point would be for like a full-length novel. Because right now I have it at $15 American, which comes out to like $21 Canadian. I don't know if that's way too much. But here's the thing. I'm making about the same amount per book as I did with the ebook, because the cost of printing the book is deducted from the revenue of the book, and then Amazon takes its chunk of the revenue of the book. So even though it's a lot more than the ebook, with the overhead, I'm making basically the same as what I was with the ebook. So let me know if you think that's like totally outrageous for a full-length novel. And I'll consider lowering the price. Because I don't want it to be expensive, but at the same time, I don't know what is expensive for a novel these days. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, because this novel is 267 pages. It's a good sized novel. And I was mentioning, let's see where I am. I have made, $21 today in chat revenue. I was saying if I got $100, I would read part of a chapter where you guys get to meet Brody, the name that I had everyone tell me how to spell, because I didn't know how to spell it. And I settled on Broddy, which is what the letter hack recommended. It's short for Broderick. I really wish my character had told me it was short for Broderick. That would have helped me spell it. But my character didn't tell me that. And to me, it was important to kind of get that sorted out, because super minor role in this book. He's going to have a far more prominent role as the series progresses. So yeah, and I'm super excited about getting this kind of ready, but this, yeah, it's just the proof. So I have the new proof on the way, which costs money because I have to pay for the printing of the book plus the shipping and handling. So, you know, I'm at least just hoping to make my money back. So I had the person help me with the cover, which was $40. And then this is now 2 proofs at just like $11 each. I'm at least hoping to make that money back with the sale of these books. And if they're super successful, then like I said, I'll be writing the other stuff. I might just write the other stuff just because I want to escape into that world. And when I go on my walks, that's, of course, now that I've started talking about my book, the rest of this live stream is just a write-off. That's all I'm going to do is talk about this book. Yeah, so I'm in these worlds and all these connections are being made and how it ties into this book and stuff. And for her meteorologist, who I know has read the book, very interesting backstories, I think. So basically, like, it's not a serialized going up to this point of this book. It's backstories of the characters. So there'd be like a book about Danielle and how she came to be. There'd be a book about Raphael and how he came to be. A book about Michael and all that sort of stuff. And so like, also like a book about the main character, Minuet, about her life journey, about where she got to where she is type thing. So books like that. So a novel about a character that leads to this book. But then there's going to be a book that overlaps with this one. A story that overlaps with this one, because this book is told in the perspective of Minuet, the main character who is a vampire. And it's all from her perspective. So there's going to be an overlap book where you find out what's happening with everyone else. So all these other books I'm writing will be in the third person. So there'd be a book that overlaps with this one, so you know everything else that was happening that she was unaware of in the telling of her story. And then it's going to pick up from where this book left off, and that will be like kind of like more of a serialized story. Super big projects, but I love living in that world. It's an amazing world to live in. Just all the you know, making the lore around the vampires in this book and what they're capable of and all that sort of stuff. But like I said, I had to make some changes to help with the backstories or the future serialized stories. Like again, nothing in the plot has changed. The plot still is as it is, but just some minor changes that I'm more than happy to tell you, Hermit, what they are, as opposed to you having to buy the book again and rereading the whole book. Although I love reading my own book. Plus, if you don't want to read the book again, I still plan on doing the video performances. So I'm going to have to start over. So I already have the one of the first chapter, but I'm going to have to start over because I've made some changes in the first chapter. And that will be for patrons at the Jack in the Box tier level. But that's on my agenda to do after I'm done the TYT video, because I have a hard time focusing on more than one thing at a time. And I'm going to have to focus on 2 things at a time, the TYT video, plus getting that other secret book of mine published. Because at this point, I'm just fed up with the publishers and I'm just going to publish it on Amazon now that I know how to go through that process. But again, I have to write that one under a pen name that I can't actually disclose for my own safety. And I think if anybody were to find out what the book is and read the book, you'd understand and you'd be like, yeah, no, that makes sense. It makes sense that I wouldn't want to disclose that I'm the author of that book. But I want to get that one done sooner than later too. So yeah, and a lot of work has to go into that one as well. Because I can't advertise that one the same way. So I have to make like a web page and all this sort of stuff that it's like, I don't know how. I don't know how to do this, to do the web page and everything. And it's going to cost me a lot more to make that book because I'm paying a cover artist from the get-go. And it's a lot more expensive to get an original cover artist for that book than signing up for the Derby where the covers were already pre-made type thing. So it's going to be like hundreds of dollars. But I have friends that are willing to help me out with the cost of that book because they feel like it's a very important book to get out there. I feel like it's an important book to get out there, and the community of people that would resonate with that book, I know I'm going to make a fair bit of sales within that. So there's a good chance I'm going to sell more of that book, even though I can't advertise it on here. Like, the day might come where it is revealed. I just want to delay that as long as possible, again, for my own safety. And yeah, I'm fairly certain all of you would understand if you were to find out what book that is. So that's the thing. Like, even if you come across that book, although I'm not going to announce even when it's published, if you just happen to read a book and think to yourself, that sounds a lot like blank, don't go spreading it around. Don't even put out hypotheticals, because, well, again, if you were to read the book, I think you'd understand why. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting like the actual book of this done. But all right, I didn't check to see if the price range was reasonable. Some people saying too cheap. It feels like a lot. Let's see. Grand Theft Autobot, try puree treats. My cat will run and leap onto my chest if I shake the box of treats they're in, and he nuzzles the box. I did get some of those tube puree treats, and they do seem to like it. It just sounds really gross with them slurping it all up, because I can't just give it to one. All three of them have to be involved. But Lanier is like an absolute monster when it comes to that. Abernathy is the chunky one, but he doesn't seem as interesting. As interested in him. Chrissy said, me falling for soul life fuckery is what that was, Sandy? I have no idea what that's in. Was that in relation to another comment? I had no idea what the relationship was. Oh. More talk about the SSRIs and stuff. Yeah, that can be a tricky subject to talk about. Do I think that there's some over-prescriptions in some cases, but not, I don't think it's a huge, massive, widespread issue. Like, there's a lot of environmental context. They help a lot of people, but there will be some people they don't help, and a lot of people that they just give it to so that they're not a problem. I take medication for my depression. I'm pro medication for that sort of thing, but there was one point in my life where I was vastly over medicated, and it was like literally I went to the doctor and they're like, so are you having any of those thoughts? And I'm like, not really. And then they found out I was only awake for 3 hours or 4 hours a day, and it's like, that's probably why you're not awake long enough, because I was on so many different things that it was just knocking me out completely. And so the doctor's like, so we're going to reel some of those back in, so you're not taking all of that, so you're awake for more than 4 hours in a day. Looney Tunes 9000, add the leak audio from the Vanguard and Chank's recent temper tantrum while calling out Silly and Billy, aka the Vanguard, to the video, Sandy. I do know the clips you're talking about. If they end up being relevant, yes. I also have the half-hour rant that Anna went on about Emma and Sam. And I recorded that from the actual video because it goes into the commercial break and a little bit after the commercial break where they're still talking about it. That isn't in their clipped video. That I think is also relevant, because if you tune in just like 2 minutes late to that episode, all you see is Anna talking, to the point that there were people in the chat wondering if Jank was even there. And you don't find out until the commercial break that he was sitting there the entire time listening to Anna just rail about Emma and Sam. And then Jank adds in his 2 cents about how disappointed he is with Emma, how that one hurts because she used to work there and stuff like that. And then just over a minor disagreement. Yeah, picking and choosing what rights trans folks have is so minor. So there's still lots of stuff for me to now add to I have to change when the montage is, because Tim from the New Evangelicals was actually able to talk to Cenk. So I have to remove that from one of the montages where he was saying he would like to, because he did. And I think the only reason why Cenk talked to him was because Tim isn't part of that online leftist progressive sphere yet. He's in his own niche that's kind of separated. So he doesn't know a lot of what's going on. So I think Cenk figured he was a safe person to talk to without getting attacked too much. And Tim still did a good job of pushing back in some areas, I felt. But I think he would have pushed back more if he knew more of the background behind it. But you can watch, I recommend watching both. If you go to the New Evangelicals channel, watching the breakdown of the Charlie Kirk Cenk conversation at Amfest that Tim did, which I thought was super fascinating. And then if you go to the conversation, TYT, the conversation on YouTube, you can see their conversation that they had with each other. Let's see. But I want to get that video done, so I'm just done with it. And I'm a little paranoid about it too. That, I'll end up getting attacked or something afterwards and stuff. That I'll be taken out of context by Cenk. Which, that's going to happen if he notices that the video even exists. Because that's what he's been doing to Emma. Although Cenk probably doesn't even remember who I am, even though we had a conversation. So George Waters says the book is too cheap. I like that talk. And Hermetorologist says I'll probably buy a paperback when it's ready. Why, thank you. I'm actually going to direct people for a while instead of giving me super chats to just buy the book instead, because then it'll help it in the rankings on Amazon. Again, it's the algorithm games. Looney Tunes 9,000, 267 pages long. Yes, it's 81,000 words. Jakara, I want a paperback. I'd pay $21. I think that's reasonable for a paperback. I hope so. That's Canadian. So American, it's $15. Because they always have the American up at the top, so for the pricing, so I'm like, $15 Canadian, that sounds good. So then I'll put that in there. And then all of a sudden I'll see the conversion and it's like, oh. Yeah. Because then I get mixed up with the conversion, because then I'm like, well, then I'll just make it $15 Canadian. But then I look at the revenue that I'd be getting, and then it's like, oh, so then I have to make it $15 American. So I'm seeing the same revenue that I would get from this book as I was with the ebook. So the revenue I'm getting per book is roughly the same. Even though one is a lot more expensive than the other because of just the costs, like printing the book alone is over $5. Like that's just the cost of the print and stuff. Jet, I don't know what a typical price for a 270-page book, but I'm sure the price you chose is fine. I have no idea. I have no idea. I haven't bought... The last book I sort of bought was Against the Web, but I didn't buy it. It was on my Amazon wish list, and somebody was kind enough to get it for me. And this one, I think, was like $11 Canadian, but it's also like 80 pages long. I don't know, how much was it, actually? Let me check. Oh, it's $11 USA. So it'd be more Canadian. So it'd be about, yeah, $15 Canadian. And it is 80 pages long. Christy said, I can't read or I would. Well, what I will also do is once all the chapters are done, my video performances of them, I'll let people know. And then that way, if you want to hear all the book or something like that, you can become a patron for 1 month. You know, become a Jack in the Box tier patron for 1 month. And then you can watch them all and hear my book that way. Because I don't know how well an e-reader does on this, because there's a distinction, because in here the vampires can have some telepathic abilities and they talk that way. And so it's all in italics in this book when I do it that way. So I don't know how well an e-reader would distinguish between that. So it could be a bit tricky to understand, like when they're talking to, telepathically and when they're not. But I make that distinction when I'm doing the video, because I make when I'm doing the words, the dialogue that's being done telepathically, it's more echoey. Oh, somebody's mentioning Sunday cartoons after this, Chrissy Zed, but also I believe Dan from the internet and Ravana are doing a breakdown of Sam Cedar on Jubilee. I watched that earlier today. It was interesting. Some of the quotes that were clipped that they showed on their show, Sam showed on the Majority Report earlier, it got worse. It got worse. But yeah, it was an interesting thing. I actually think Sam did a good job of exposing the audience to Jubilee to maybe just get them thinking a little bit more, which is generally speaking his goal. But I'm pretty sure like a lot of the people he was debating, their minds weren't necessarily changed, although he mentioned that some of them were actually taking what he said seriously and wanted to look into some things more afterwards. But I think for the casual viewer of Jubilee, I think he did a good job of maybe getting them to want to think a little bit more about it. Certain things. Has the power report already started? Jakara, Sandy says they're bad at making or self-promotion, but this book sounds juicy and drawing me in. LOL. What, the book I can't talk about? Or the Necroplasm book? Yeah, I can talk about Necroplasm, this book here, all the time. It's hard to get me to shut up about it, actually, once I get talking about it. Yeah, the other book I can't talk about, unfortunately. I'd love to. I would love to. Oh my God, would I love to, because I think it's so important. But just, you'd understand if you read it, why I can't. I hope my makeup doesn't actually look as pasty as I think it looks. What if I do this? Does that help a bit? So I'm not glowing so much? Oh. Turning off just one of the lights. Let's see. 56 Nick Rich, the possible live streams to involve yourself with is enormous these days. Support the ones that matter, folks. Sandy's stuff is magic. Why, thank you. Oops. I jumped. Wow, jumped a lot. I must have been just blathering on for quite some time. Where was I? There, I think around there. Oh, and her meteorologist says that not only are you going to buy it again, but you'll actually maybe even read through it again. Why, thank you. Because you liked it. I really like it. I really like it. Like, that's the thing. I love rereading this book, and I wrote the fucking thing. And you might like the changes. I'm just saying. It's definitely going to be helpful, some of those changes, I think, for expanding the story, the universe of this book. And yes, Looney Tunes, the next live stream is TBA. It all depends on how overwhelmed I am with everything. 56 Nick Ridge, thank you again so much for another $2. Thanks again, Sandy. Facts matter. They do. They do. Super appreciate it. Philip Blair, the problem with SSRIs are treated as the only option and they make safer alternatives illegal for people who can't afford them to go on American Clinic Costa Rica run by Americans for Americans. Yes. When they start making a diverse options unavailable, then yes, it absolutely becomes a problem. Oh, according to Twitter, I guess Dan is live right now. So people can sit through the Jubilee with him and Ravana, which I think would be very helpful if you want to get through the whole thing. Let's see. Jet, will the paperback be available anywhere other than Amazon? Not for the foreseeable future. Part of it is contractually. When you publish on Amazon, you can only publish on there for like 6 months or something like that. But then hypothetically, after that, if a publisher were to pick up on it, then it could be distributed to other locations. I also have the option on Amazon to have Amazon send it out or have it available to other bookstores to purchase. But then the amount that I get from it is far, far less. And the bookstores would have to purchase it. Like it's not automatically sent out to them. A bookstore would have to have an interest in it and bulk buy them type thing. So that's unlikely to happen. So like, yeah, in the future, if a publisher were to pick up on this and want to be a publisher, then yes, it will be available somewhere else other. But unfortunately, until then, no. Because I know you're not a fan of Amazon, and I totally get that. I'm not a fan of Amazon, but sometimes that's all you get. $56 Nick Rich. The Canadian dollar might be 20% less than the US dollar, but we can survive, folks. I don't mind when Americans are paying me. American sends in some money for the PayPal or something like that, and they think they're sending me $20, but really they're sending me $5,000 after the conversion. But I think I will probably be wrapping up as I am pretty much near the end of the, or to the bottom of the sandbox. Looney Tunes 9000 says, yeah, it has to me, but I don't know what you're referring to. And then followed by Chrissy Zed saying LMFAO because Sandy is reading old messages out of context and blah, blah, blah. And Monope, you're in something you fit. Yeah. And sometimes it starts as a little cascade effect where I'll talk about an older message in the sandbox and then people will start talking about that again. And so, but then by the time I get back to that, then I'm talking and then it loops again and it loops again. Let's see. This will not be a 6-hour long live stream. I need to go eat dinner and stuff and just relax. And yeah, so I've made these graphics slightly different so that they stand out more and you can read them better. Hopefully they don't look weird. Trying to match the purples and stuff to go with the logo up here. I think this looks better than having just a piece of paper printed off and pinned to the wall. Yeah. Jed, I'll figure out a way around Amazon's restrictions and get a paperback, even if I have to wait 6 months, lol. Yeah. I wish I didn't have to rely on Amazon, but let's see. Is there anything else? Yeah. Like I said, don't know when the next live stream will be. I don't like going too long without them because I do enjoy doing live streams and there's tons of news coming out all the time. And yeah. Huh. Stay posted to my social medias though, because that's where I'm most likely going to advertise my book when it's available, because the second proof is coming, but I still have to make sure I like that proof before I make it available for sale. Because something really wrong could go on with that. Monopus for syllables. Mon and o ep. I don't think so. What is the longest single word or single syllable word? What is the longest single syllable word? I think I know. Squirrel. Anyway, that was super random. That's how my brain works sometimes. Anyway, yeah. So all of this stuff. I've also started to put Easter candy on my Amazon wish list because I like that. Easter is my favorite candy holiday. So actually, I think I can close all of these tabs down. And yeah. But you guys know the routine. Thank you for coming out. Super appreciate it. Thank you to the mods for keeping the sandbox clean of turds. Thank you to all the people who have already become patrons, who've helped out with, you know, the wish list or just donating money towards Frodo's vet bills and super chats and all of that. It really, really does help me get by, because I don't need a lot of extra in order to get by. I don't live an expensive lifestyle. So yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it. Okay, so I'll do this. Salut, à la prochaine. Thank you for watching and stay tuned. I'm Sandy, wishing your tomorrow is better than your today.